Evolution.org, episode 600. Today we're doing a special 2-hour episode. And we have a co-host guest coming on, Noah from the forum. Noah Wixx, Wixx. You can check him out on the forum. Of course, I got Mobster. Both of them are running excellent logs. We're going to talk about the logs, and we're going to talk about a lot of different topics, all kinds of things, training, gym. We're going to talk about steroids. We're going to talk about a lot of fun things. We're going to talk about competing. So it's going to be a really fun, special 600 episode. So let's get right to it. First topic we want to talk about is Noah talking about his log. He did a really good log previously under Topps Baseball 88. You guys can check that out. And now he is doing a current log. So Noah, why don't you come on in, buddy, and tell us a little bit about your log to start it off.
Sure. First off, hello, Steve. Hello, Mobster. Hope you guys are doing well. As far as the log goes, this time around, I decided to add a couple more things in. I know, like my previous log, I did testosterone at a lower dose and primo at a lower dose, I would say, compared to what most guys are running these days. This time around, I decided that I was going to switch from test cypionate into test enothate. Still running primobolan because it's one of my favorite compounds, so I had to include that since I am cutting currently. And then I decided to throw my hat in the ring and run some equipoise for the first time. So it's been pretty exciting so far. I'm about 2 weeks in to the current cycle. As far as my dosages go, I am currently on 350 milligrams of test E a week. I'm doing 300 milligrams of equipoise a week, and I am currently at 400 milligrams of primobolan a week. So slightly a little over a gram a week is what we're looking at. But as far as what I've experienced so far, in a nutshell, I could say that this one has been quite a wild roller coaster, if I can explain it best to you guys, as far as side effects go. Um, I could tell you the PIP is very real. I've gone with higher concentrations this time around, which when I first got into this, I was thinking, okay, higher concentrations, less oil, right? Less PIP. Completely wrong. Don't ever think that way if that's how you're going to think about it, because I was gravely mistaken. It has been a lot rougher on my body than my first cycle. Uh, the side effects as far as
So let's
physically
start. Let's start
contributing.
with that. Let's start with post injection pain. Mobster, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah. If Noah was here, I'd probably have to slap him upside his head very gently, Noah, because we've talked about higher concentration products on podcasts, and I've discussed multiple times on the forum. And this is not meant to be a dig at you, because a lot of what we do when it comes to our personal journey is a bit of an experiment in terms of how we're going to respond and whatever else, right? So for the listeners, Noah sent us some notes specifically about issues that he'd had just literally in the last few days. And obviously, we decided to talk about that on the show today. So, PEP and higher concentrations. I have quoted on previous shows the late Rich Piana. Now, Rich would talk some complete and utter bollocks, and that got in great deal of traction. But on the odd occasion, Rich would come out with a comment or two that made sense. So here's the thing, right? Companies, UGLs, approved sources, etc., sell what people ask for. They do not necessarily sell, although a lot of what they sell is, they do not always sell what is arguably useful for the individual. And the late Rich Piana cited it thus. He said, if a huge pharmaceutical company, back in the day when steroids were being created in the 50s and 60s, isolated in the 30s and 40s, but being created for medical reasons, and then later on, UGLs created products for performance enhancement. There's this idea that a 350, a 400, or even a 500 milligram product is somehow better. And the reality of the situation is that it's more likely to crystallize. Rich Piana pointed out that a pharmaceutical company could just charge you more, so they're not losing money if they make a higher concentration product. And for medical reasons, they saw zero need with a lot of steroids to go over 250 or 300 milligrams there or thereabouts. So while you're correct in thinking there's less oil, so there's less volume being injected, it's having the product in suspension, it's having it not crystallize or crash. And typically, and this is what I've stated on the forum, anything around the 400, 450, 500 milligrams, I don't care if it's available. You're never going to see me using it because again and again and again, this is just on our group of forums, never mind anywhere else, you will see a high proportion of users talk about post-injection pain. Now, some can handle that. I know what I'm doing. I know what I've injected. It's a bit uncomfortable for a couple of days, boom, fine. Others, and I'm including Noah today, specifically because we've seen this in the communication that we've had with Noah, and again, this is as much for the benefit as Noah as it is for the listeners. It's fucking uncomfortable to the point of being disconcerting, to the point of, is it inflamed? Is that redness? Is it still fucking hurting? Is it hurting 24 hours? Has it hurt for 2 days? Do I need to go and get an injection? Do I need to get antibiotics? And you're already stressing your body when you're on cycle, especially when you're, as Noah is, ever so slightly over a gram. You're killing yourself in the gym. You're quite often on a restricted diet, and you've added another layer of stress, and that's without life and everything else on top. So the idea that higher concentration products are better is bollocks for the most part. It really isn't any more effective because, again, $1 billion or multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical company could have done that back in the day, and they don't. They didn't then, and they don't now. And the only thing, and Noah touched on this, is the volume of oil. It's literally, I'm putting more in with less volume, and especially if I'm using products that require more frequent injection, anything where I'm not putting in more than 2 ml at a time sounds like a good thing. The reality of the situation is you're probably just better off doing 1 ml or 1.5 ml or 2 ml, and then if you need to put more in, do a different injection site. And again, that comes down to choices of essence, products, what you're cycling, and so on and so forth. But I think in Noah's specific case, having said all of that, it's just a layer of stress that Noah doesn't need. And anything like that, which is a head fuck and holding you back and stressing you out, is something I don't want to be doing when I'm over 1 gram a week and I'm killing it in the gym and I'm trying to change my body. And that's without getting into the whole sort of mental dysmorphia and whatever else. And I'm not saying that I'm any different, getting pissed off if things don't go my way in the gym or a product don't feel like it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, or if I was injecting the same as Noah was and I was having problems. What do you think on that as well, Steve, before we move on?
Yeah, I could do the flip side too, because I've used Bare Primo back in the day, and it was only 100 milligram per milliliter. So it was the opposite, and it hurt like hell. So really, it's because the molecular structure and the molecular weight of the gear can also cause post-injection pain. So I think that what happens in a lot of situations is these underground labs, they do a really good job of cutting back on the post-injection pain. But again, I think in this situation, the thing I advised Noah to do was dilute as much as you can, because if you dilute the gear with something else and then you're injecting a little more into your body, at least it'll kind of ease off on that, and you can try that. But at the end of the day, look, if you're allergic to the gear, or if your body's sensitive to the gear, your body doesn't like it, it's not going to like it. And sometimes it's better to just learn your lesson and just move on and take the loss and try
Absolutely.
something
Yeah,
different.
buy
So I mean,
something else, Steve.
but
Buy
Noah,
something else.
did any of these strategies work for you so far or no?
So as far as working here, I'll kind of explain a little bit of the dichotomy and the dilemma that I'm in, and I'll touch on everything you guys said. So as far as Mobster said, trust me, brother, I do not take it as a dig. I am here to learn. I want the blunt truth, and that's just a matter of the
Yeah,
facts and what we need here. I want to be educated. I want to do this properly. I want to be
That's
here for a while.
certainly something that Mobster is good at.
Oh, trust me, I know. Trust me. When I
The
took a
blood, the
picture
blood,
with my
yeah.
phone, he was like, can someone else take that picture?" And I'm like, "God, it's brutal." But so as far as what I've tried, so I'll explain, like, so I've went into the ventral glutes before, and I had no redness, no swelling. The only thing I had was pip that made me hobble like an 80-year-old man with a cane, which was not comfortable. I was physically having to lift my hamstring with my hands to get out of my car, and that PIP lasted a week. That was awful. Um, the right delt, I was able to inject into the side delt. I had no issues with redness or swelling, just some minor PIP. Went in great. Tried the left delt. I'm like, okay, the right delt worked. Let's try the left delt. Left delt, my bicep is so inflamed and swollen. I look like Greg Valentino after he injected synthol. Like for some reason, after I went into that left delt, I've had a hellish ride with like heat and I feel like a furnace radiating. For some reason, I don't know what happened with that left delt because I didn't switch anything as far as injection technique or anything. And it just, I've been dealing with this hell since last Friday and it's finally starting to kind of go down a little bit, but it's still swollen. So I'm going to give it another week or two with no training, no nothing, no stress, just a lot of ice, a lot of rest, and see what happens. As far as what I've done for trying to alleviate some of that, so I've ran the vials under hot water for a few minutes at a time. I've mixed all the oils in the barrel repeatedly for minutes at a time. I've also heated the barrel capped under hot water for a few minutes at a time. That seemed to help a little bit. And then I tried the method where you put the vials in a saucepan, you heat up the water for a little bit, you aspirate by putting a couple needles in the vial, try and get that BA out of there, heat it up. So I've tried multiple different methods. They seem to work a tiny bit, but for the most part, um, the PIP is still brutal. And like I said, I fully take responsibility for that because my logic was off. And that's just a matter of me being super new still. So this is 100% on me. I don't want to ditch the cycle. I just want to adapt and overcome and make it work for me. And I will say, I caught your guys's Parapharma, Primo and Anavar cut cycle, and you had mentioned something, Steve, about running 200 milligrams a test. And so I thought, well, if I dial the test back from 350 to 200 and I'm taking in maybe a smaller amount of oil, because I'm thinking it's the test 400 because it's 400 milligrams a milliliter. The I don't think my issues are coming from the EQ or the Primo because it seems the test is a much thicker oil than both of those. Because even after heating it up, I'm looking at the oil and it is way more viscous than both the other oils. And I could tell you, even on the Primo, when I did 100 milligrams a milliliter, I was running 2 mLs of that a week. And I had zero pip compared to what I have now. So I'm really thinking it's the test E400 that is creating my issues.
Yeah, and Mobster, you wanted to say something? You wanna unmute?
I
Yep.
was just agreeing. I would absolutely say that's exactly what's going on. And again, it's the 350, 400, 450, 500 milligram issue. I believe I've heard the phrase used about some compounds, none of them are ironically from any of the approved sources, where people have talked about a product being, what's the phrase, like motor oil going in. And I mean, do you know what? There's a bit of an issue here. And again, I don't think it's a surprise to Noah because, as he said himself, he's learning, right? What we sometimes have in our sport, in the iron game, and we get this a few times on the forums. And I just take it as a sort of a tongue-in-cheek joke for the most part. And even if they're serious, I just ignore them. There's a certain element, probably 5 or 10% of PED users, that is almost a machismo, masochistic element to, if it's thick, it's good. If it's high dosage, it's good. If it has to be this color trend and all this kind of stuff, right? And 90% of that stuff is just bullshit, right? I talk about these things both for the pharmaceutical company analogy earlier on and whatever else. And I say to the guys all the time, look at medication, look at medical use, look at injections that you have in hospital, look at what companies and compound pharmacies can do for you. I can literally, I say literally, I don't actually know one, but if I knew of a local compound pharmacy, I could go there and I could get the chemist, the person that's making this stuff up for me, to make up pretty much anything at a dosage that just suits me. I could specifically say, well, I want 550 milligrams of test. And they'll go, I make it for you. And I'll go, make it test prop. Oh my God, you know what I mean? And they go, well, I can make that for you, Steve, but it's going to hurt like a fucking bitch. Never mind the bollocks. I'm hard. I can fucking take it. And there's a certain percentage, and sometimes, and this might even be not Noah's logic, but occasionally we'll see people that kind of like, I think Steve joked about taking advice off of Reddit the other day in a podcast that we did. You will have, and we used to have 15-year-old experts who you didn't mention that they were 15 telling you something that they'd read and copying and pasting it as though it was information that they were giving to you. And for the longest time, and I'm privy to this just because I've known about this shit for 30 fucking years and seeing that information for literally 30 years ago when it first came out, that some of that information has trickled down to the now. And again, it's a small percentage of the information that's available to us. So again, this is for the benefit of listeners listening into this show. Okay, for the most part, medical use is an indication of PED use. So what it does to your body, the quality, the milligrams per mil, the fluid that it's suspended in, for example, and Noah mentioned BA, as specifically alcohol that's added in small concentrations to some UGL products because it increases sterility. But at the same time, if they fuck the concentration up just by a little bit, it goes from a smooth and it went in so easy to, oh my God, it fucking hurts like a bitch. And I had to rub ice on it. My own post-injection pain, such as it was, and I think Noah referred to this with the Cut Mix show when he was talking about Steve, I said that the only reason I was getting any post-injection pain wasn't the product. It's just that I hadn't done an injection for absolutely fucking ages. And I can get the needle in absolutely no problem at all. And then I'm a cack-handed motherfucker when I'm injecting the syringe. And so the first couple of injections on that particular cut, they didn't hurt, but it hurt after. And it only hurt after because I was moving the fucking syringe around while I was injecting the plunger. So it was me being a cack-handed motherfucker. And what sometimes happens with all of this kind of information is that we go looking for what we want. We find something that reflects what we're thinking, and we apply that to ourselves, whereas in reality, we should be looking for the best source of information. We should be applying the logic to across all the spectrum, and we should be making sure, checking as best we possibly can without being pains in the arse, that the way that we're thinking is correct. And a good example of this, and it's very, very difficult for us as individuals to be truly self-analytical. I'm quite good at it, and even then I'm not doing it all the time. I do this on my own training log. I want to change a topic a little bit here now as well, Noah, because obviously those particular issues, and we're going to address those perhaps in more detail shortly. One of the things I want to talk about specifically is a log, because in a way, listener, what we're doing now is the same as what we would do online on the forums. Someone like Noah has this particular issue. We do our best to assist them, and then their journey afterwards, the next cycle is going to be absolutely fucking amazing. These issues are not permanent. The stuff that Noah's talking about is something that can be resolved relatively easy by dilution, by not buying high concentration products again, by rotating sites, not injecting in the site that causes pain. He's already done some of the techniques that would dissipate warming up the oils and so on and so forth. All those things are helpful and useful. And again, advice that we give on the show, advice that we give on the forums. What I will say in terms of the log stuff, and he's just briefly touched on it in his log today, is this is the reason why we encourage listeners to have a log online and posting comments and whatever else in his shows when they've seen the podcast and whatever else, because the way that we're able to help benefits not just Noah, but those people reading Noah's log. Someone that might have had the same issue that Noah's had can now say, hang on, that's the reason why I did it. That's what was happening. I didn't realize. I was so embarrassed to kind of ask. I realized I fucked up. And then they've learned. And the classic example of this, and I say this as an older person, is that we tell our kids and our grandkids, don't make the mistake that dad or granddad made. You don't have to go off and learn, but it's a thing that we seem to do in life, and men are especially bad at this, because we almost seem to need to make the fucking mistake in order to learn from the mistake. But here we are, with Noah as a guest, with the information that we give to Noah, and we talk to him, and we talk about the log benefiting, not just Noah, as Steve and myself, but thousands of people, hundreds and hundreds of readers of Noah's log, and thousands of people that might listen to this show. So let's get into that as well, Steve, as well.
Yeah, so yeah, talk about Noah. First of all, talk about what doing a log has done for you. I know we talked about it before when you were on the podcast, and that was a great podcast, by the way. And then also talk about your goals over the next year, 3 years, 5 years, and competing.
Okay, so my first overall goal has drastically switched. My first overall goal is not to feel this way ever again. My second overall goal now is to never make this mistake again. And my third overall goal is to finally reach the stage. when, so I will say my overall goal is competing, and I've set a time frame of about 2 to 3 years. I feel that by setting 2 to 3 years out, I have plenty of time to run enough cycles. I have plenty of time to adapt and learn what works for me, what doesn't work for me, what makes me retain water, what doesn't, what concentrations of compounds I should run, what milligrams I should run. Because I'll be honest, the reason like with this log that I went higher concentration is because I figure it was less to inject, but obviously that was backwards. But the overall goal is definitely hit the stage. I want to start at the small local level and compete in local shows. The first goal is definitely just try and get to the stage and
Which
place.
class specifically?
Well, I'm thinking men's
What weight
physique.
class?
Men's physique, I was thinking probably like I think I would probably look my best in like the 185, 195 range. Um, the reason I will say this, the reason I picked men's physique, I will full disclosure for both of you guys, my legs absolutely suck. So I will not hide that. I will not hide that at all.
One of the
So
things, sorry, to interrupt you there, Noah. One of the
No,
things,
go
and
ahead.
I'm going to try and do this a little bit for you on the forums if I can. And I want you to jump in on my, I think I called it the intensifiers thread there, and I'll try to include some suggestions. Something I actually read the other day as well, which would be useful for powerlifting, but might work for you. And that is what I've seen the local pro doing, and certain means and methods to sort of stimulate the growth in the area of the quads above and beyond. Obviously, I mean, I've seen the photographs that Noah's put up and sent to us. Upper body is men's physique ready. Yeah, tops. No, in terms of your insertions, in terms of your muscle shape, the way that your biceps look, the way that your pecs look, the way that your shoulders tie, and it's got some shots on their back as well. And as he said, there's is like a year, 18 months tops, right? Lower body, as he said, 100% needs to work. And we all got physique body parts like that. The trick, I think, is going to be those intensifiers, not squatting and not leg press and not leg curls, whatever, because those are all going to be in there, but how you're doing those and the little nuances that you'll see between someone that's able to bring certain elements of their physique out or bring up, quote unquote, a weak body part versus someone like me that's literally just moving the weight from A to B. Can I move the weight and can I move the weight fast? I'm not looking for intensifiers. I'm not looking for muscle shape. I've always said, I even touched on this a couple of times in the show, the muscle that I've gained is a bonus, and I like having it, but it's not about me looking a certain particular way. Being a big motherfucker is more focused to being a big, strong motherfucker. But for Noah, the idea that we might be able to, and again, it's not just for his benefit, but for anybody else, and the same applies on other logs, if we can come up with a few small suggestions, rather than, and I don't want to dismiss it too much, there's some more simplistic replies that we sometimes give just to support someone versus a little bit of a nuanced information that's going to make a quad pop or make the sides of the thigh stick out or make the inner thigh fill out more or make the hamstrings separate from the quads and so on and so forth, that kind of stuff. And that nuance thing, and I've actually had a fella here who's a bodybuilding judge, supplement company owner at one point, worked with supplement companies, clothing companies in the bodybuilding field, and so on and so forth, called Keith Williams. I even took the pictures of his wedding. And Keith was one of those blokes that had that nuanced information, a little, right, if you position your foot this way, if you're up on the balls of your feet rather than putting your heel on a leg press, the top, that quad from mid quad is going to be popping out more than it normally would. And then he'd have you doing just 3/4 of the movement and all your feelings are fucking pain right in that particular spot, the very place that you want to shape. That stuff It's difficult to do on a podcast. It's difficult to do in a paragraph on the forum. It's much easier to do it in person. But as best we possibly can, we'll try and come up with these kind of information, and even getting people to take photographs or little videos of how they're doing a movement. And a good example of this is Super Tired, the Australian female athlete that we have on the forums, doing some sort of a glute buster type exercise, and she wasn't really feeling it where she wanted to. And I just said, change the angle of your foot. Literally pivot your hip out instead of just pushing it straight up and back. And pivoting it out and turning your foot out made the muscle contract better at the top of the movement. And now she was feeling it right in the fucking artery, right in the gluteus maximus. Now the movement was working. And it was just that kind of nuanced stuff that's difficult to come across, as I say, in a podcast, in a paragraph on the forum. But that kind of stuff that's going to say, oh my fucking good grief, it's working exactly where it wants to. I'm finally starting to see the detail. Even stuff just like posing them again and again and again. So you can isolate the hamstring again and again and again. So you're literally squeezing out against the side of your thigh. Now you're getting the outer quads getting here, and just stuff like that. So that's the sort of stuff that we're going to try and do for Noah. Just talking now, but again on the forums and as much as we possibly can. Back to you guys.
Hey, Mobster, what? Let me hit you with this one. Do you think me changing gyms would be more beneficial with the goals that I'm at, as far as holding me back? Because where I train now, which it's no secret, Planet Fitness, they just have Smith machines and machines. They don't have like free bench. They don't have squat racks. They don't have anything. Do you think that that is what ultimately could be holding back my legs, or do you think it's mainly genetic? Because if you look at my logs, I train my legs just as hard as I train my upper body. It just seems, for me, genetically speaking, I've got more of that classic physique with the traps in the back and that upper body than I do men's physique. But the only thing holding me back from classic is the legs. So I chose men's physique.
I actually thought of classic physique when you mentioned it earlier on. The simple, straightforward answer, the fun answer, because of the hate that we sometimes have for Planet Fitness, would be to say, yes, fuck them, go somewhere else and just be done with it. The reality of the situation is it's hard to say. And I'll tell you for why, right? Because we've had listeners and members on the forum that have had, they've gone on holiday and gone to a gym at a hotel or in the spa or wherever the fuck they're staying in the hotel area where the hotel is, and they found a local gym and it's shit. In comparison perhaps to the gym that they normally train at. But we've had people that are traveling, salesmen and truck drivers and whatever else, and we've said, get yourself a plastic crate and stick some dumbbells in it, some resistance bands, and just do, core work in your hotel room or whatever else. So the reality of the situation is, it goes back to some of that nuanced stuff, is you're working with whatever the fuck you got, Noah. So that's answer number one. And you can do that nuanced stuff that I talked about with lighter weights. If again, this is out of necessity, in a crap gym. You could have a good workout doing some sort of sissy squat, which is a fucking horrendously difficult exercise. And that's just body weight with you holding onto a Smith machine frame or an upright of a bench or something like this. And you're standing there with your feet on a wooden block or with your feet on a plate, and you're going up and down and you're doing 3/4 of the movement, and it kills the quads. And that can be done with no weights, no special gym, no special equipment. That said, the reality of the situation is thus. If you look at any athlete, and in our example, specifically bodybuilding, classic physique or open class, most of those guys are going to multiple gyms, multiple places to play sport and whatever else. And they do the goddamn thing that they need to fucking do. When COVID came along, and I'll use myself as an example, I stopped counting at £4,000, so probably $5,000 on the gym equipment. And I've bought stuff recently, as I say on the forums, for the gym that I have here in the house. And I'm lucky that I have the space here to be able to do that, and the money, of course. So the gyms being shut didn't stop me from kicking ass in the gym. In fact, I got some crazy fucking numbers when the gyms were shut. 340 kilo fucking Hatfield squat was done. Again, and all the gyms were, didn't open for another 3 months. So I didn't give myself an excuse. And the top pro bodybuilders, even back in the day, never mind now, would go to this gym because it had a good bench for benching on. I go to that gym because it's got more back equipment, and so on and so forth. And it's not uncommon. I'm thinking even of Jay Cutler would do cardio at one gym at 11 o'clock at night and then go to another gym for his weight workouts. So it was a question of doing what needs to be done. If you've got a weakness in your physique, and Planet Fitness, and let's use your quads as an example because it's something that Noah's telling us is a weakness. And I say, right, so I know that some Planet Fitness gyms cut the horns down, the loading pins on certain leg machines and the Smith machine, so you can max out at the most with 4 plates a side. I get a fucking workout loading my leg machines up, and it ain't with 4 plates a side, listeners. So it's a question of, I actually want machines that have got longer horns than the standard, never mind cut back. Could Planet Fitness be holding you back, for example, of absolutely going up another plate or 2 plates or something on an exercise and adding another 1/4 of an inch in the right place on your quads? Yes. Is a gym, and it's not all Planet Fitnesses have the same equipment, do they have a leg extension that you really feel it in your quads on? I don't know. So maybe you need to go to another gym. It might be, and this is the way that I currently train myself, I have sufficient equipment here in the building that I'm recording this podcast, the old social club that I live in, own into my home, to be able to have a workout every single day if I so desire. But I still go to the local gym because the idea of me pushing myself with a certain atmosphere, i.e. people around me, and having someone to train with that works at the gym and finishes working and then trains in with me on bench press, means that I'm changing location. And when I go to that local gym, I have to pay, and I walk there. It's like 1.5 miles away or whatever. So I do what needs to be done in that certain situation. There is a problem with both Australia and America in terms of, if you don't live in a big city, you could be 30 fucking miles away from a gym. And then that's driving, and then that's time, and you've got work, and you've got life, and whatever else. But I would probably suggest this in your circumstances and for what you're trying to achieve. You will get a certain bit further down the road towards your ultimate physique. But what you might do, and what I'm suggesting you're probably going to need to do, is make certain decisions as you approach getting stage ready. And that might mean that you've spoken with a coach, and a coach says, Noah, you need to bring your lower lats in, or you need that cardio that you're doing is not quite killing it for you. It's fucking your knees up, blah, 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 blah. You need to go to another gym with different cardio equipment, or you need to change the cardio that you're doing, or it needs to be closer to your home, or, whatever. And you make that decision based on just how determined you are to go on stage and kick ass and take names and take the trophy. And ultimately, and we've talked about this on shows when we talked about PED use and the lifestyle and whatever else, it really comes down to just how, and I'm going to be kind of crude again, fucked up you are in the head about your obsessive level of wanting to win and make a name for yourself. And I think we touched on it a little bit when Steve and I recorded a show just a couple of days ago. We were talking about using check drops, Mirrolabone, as a pre-workout and or fight sports. And I was trying to explain the background of some boxers and getting into a ring while someone's about to smash you in the face and there's $30 million contract, and the mentality that requires you to be like a dog in a fight and taking this incredibly toxic steroid to make you super aggressive on the day, and that it has to be a decision specific to you. The same thing applies when it comes to wanting to drive 30 miles just to have a good leg workout, or find a machine that works your rear delts like no other machine. And people are going, how the fuck? How is Noah finding the time? Why is he going 30 miles for a fucking back workout? That comes down to you on a particular day. And it might be just something you need to do. It might even be, and a couple of lifters have done this, where you buy one piece of equipment to go in your garage that is not at any local gym. And that's the one thing that, you spend $600-700 on and does exactly the job that you needed to do. And everybody's like, okay, he's just bought this one fucking treadmill, or he's got this stepping machine. That's $1,000 or something, but you're doing what needs to be done. And I think the other argument I've used in this example is that sometimes we're okay with the money that we spend on PEDs, but we'll bitch about spending $8 on a guest membership by going to a local gym, or $5 on gas for a little bit further that we've had to drive. And I go, okay, so you're okay with a $1,000 cycle, but you're bitching about $20 a month for four training sessions, that other gym or whatever. And then it starts to be a bit silly. You're okay with spending this amount of money on Amazon, on Netflix, and whatever else, but you don't want to spend that money going into your body.
Well,
Because
let me ask Noah
go on,
that.
go on,
How much
go on,
you
go
spend
on.
on Planet Fitness?
Uh, $20 a month, typically. I
Okay.
think there's one small gym by me that's right off the highway. It's about 15, 20 minutes from where I live. And I think that one's like 40 or $50 a month.
Yeah.
And that one's 24 hours a day. And I've
Yeah.
thought about checking that one out just to see what they have because they've got big glass windows that I can see from the highway. And their equipment, like from what I can see on the outside, it looks kind of neat. And I think it might have better stuff than what I have at Planet, but I I guess I'm just confused at how I was able to build such a great upper body with just Planet Fitness, but
Yeah,
my legs I can't seem to
Yeah.
grow. And here's the thing, when I cut down, guys, like when you saw like the striations in my pecs and my delts and my back, my legs shrink too. They get stronger,
Yeah.
but they
How
shrink
how
because
tall are you? Like 6'1", right?
no, I'm 5'11".
Okay, so close to 6 foot. Yeah. I mean, in your like Northern European genetics, or
Italian and Irish.
okay, so maybe the long, lanky limbs,
yeah,
like it's just one of those things where you've got like the longer calves, where
I
you've got the
do.
same size
Mhm.
calves, but they're just longer. Like me, I'm a shorter guy. I'm 5'6". I got Mediterranean genetics,
mm,
and it's like I can easily build my calves. I can easily build my quads. I can easily
See
build
where
my
I
arms,
can't.
but I'm not good when it comes to deadlifting because I got the shorter arm. So I can't pull. My pulling exercises aren't as good. The rows aren't as strong, so it's
Right.
different. Yeah, it could be definitely genetics for sure,
Yeah,
where you
because
got
I'm
the
not
more.
I'm a stronger guy. Like, I mean, as far as like bodybuilding goes, I mean, I'm not Ronnie Coleman strong or anything like
Yeah,
that, but like, I can rack pull almost 500 right now. Like, the leg press, I think the most I can fit at the Planet there is probably 1,000 pounds, and I can leg press that for reps, no problem. It's just, I don't know. Like, I don't know
yeah,
what it is genetically speaking about my legs, and that's the only reason why I thought men's
yeah,
physique, but if you look at my body, like I have the body for classic. Like my traps are way too big for men's physique. Like those guys don't really have traps like that, and it's like my delts are really big too. Like, like the front delt, side delt, like for some reason, like those just grow crazy. The upper body just for some reason will
yeah.
grow like that, but the calves
But I
are
mean,
hard to
keep
grow,
working on it. Yeah, I would keep
you
working
know.
on it. But I like what Mobster's strategy. Like, keep your Planet Fitness. It's only $20 a month. They're not
yeah,
scamming you. These
No.
other gyms, because a lot of people don't understand these other gyms. Because I used to work at a Meathead gym, and they don't let you. They have so many rules at these Meathead gyms. You can't touch the mirrors. You can't drop your weight. You can't do deadlifts because some idiot, maybe at some point they let you do deadlifts, but some idiot put a hole in the ground or broke a weight or dropped the weight. They're afraid of liability. So there's very rare that you're going to see gyms that let you slam weights and throw weights around. And even if they claim they let you do it, trust me, after you sign that 2-year contract with them that you can't cancel without penalty, they'll yell at you. They'll be like, "Oh no," but like, "Dude, you told me I could slam the weights." No, no, blah blah blah. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? I've
here's
been so I don't think there's anything wrong with Planet Fitness. I mean, I was shocked because like the marketing of Planet Fitness, that's them marketing it. That's Planet Fitness.
yes,
And
right.
these idiots, these influencers on social media, they always put out videos bashing
yeah, I've
Planet
seen them. Yeah,
Fitness. And as Mobster said at the beginning of the show, they're machoists or whatever that term
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And they do that, but they're actually helping Planet Fitness because Planet Fitness wants that image, and it's led to Planet Fitness being. It costs millions to franchise a
Yep,
Planet Fitness.
it sure does.
So
Here's
who
the funny
owns
thing.
Planet Fitness? It's either rich ass businessmen or like ex pro athletes, like
Yeah.
guys like Shaquille O'Neal or something.
Yep.
Those are the guys who own these Planet Fitness gyms because it's so fucking expensive. So they play into that image on purpose. And damn, $20 a month, and it's easy to cancel. I'll
yeah.
fucking sign up for that. Like I
Steve,
work out at a private gym, and I can't stand like the fucking membership fees and the termination fees and breaking the contract and these hidden fees. Like they bill my credit card twice a year, $50. It's like, oh, this is to improve the gym. You ain't improving jack shit in the gym. You're just
Yeah,
pocketing the money.
let me jump in, guys, and I'll tell you how this works for me. And I've actually explained this once on the forums, right? So, and this might just be me and my personality, versus, and I see this again on the forums, right? So I mentioned Super Tired earlier, and I couldn't understand why Super Tired was, and I actually said this, not meaning to sound unkind or whatever else. She's training, the thing that she's studying for is to become a PT. And when she was doing the glute thing, and she was new to the forum, so there was another reason for her thinking the way that she was thinking. And I said, why don't you just ask someone down at the gym? She says, oh, I don't want to ask anybody at the gym. That's not my thing. And then one of the other members jumped, oh, I never talk to anybody at the gym. And I go, okay, I fucking do. I train at what might arguably called the other gym, or my gym, my home gym here. Both gyms are hardcore gyms. And what do I mean by that? Yeah, you can do deadlifts. Yes, if I do the 90-kilo dumbbell, it might make a noise when I put it back on the floor. But here's the thing, right? And this happens especially with the younger guys and also really stupid idiots. And I will say that, I don't give a fuck. Some people are dickheads. Metroflex, Arlington, Texas, has had people fighting and pulling each other by the hair over what fucking music is on the stereo. I'm an ex-prisoner. You can't fuck with me. And they've ended up having fights in a car park with Brian Dobson having to pull them apart. And it's a shithole, but it's a fucking magnificent shithole with cobwebs and dirt and dust and whatever else. But you can do 1,000-pound squats and whatever. My gym isn't quite that hardcore, though we've nearly had one or two situations that could have been violent, but they turned out it wasn't be. And the reason that is thus is I've been unbelievably supportive of the gym, and the gym's been unbelievably supportive of me. If, for example, in Noah's case, he is enough of a personality, whatever you want to call it, where people recognize that Noah's getting into shape and is looks stage ready, and people start to become supportive of Noah and they go, oh man, Noah, you're looking amazing, man. You're going to kill it. Keep pushing. And don't you dare get off the cardio until you're 20 minutes up or whatever. And whether that's Planet Fitness or whether it's somewhere else, the input that you put, sometimes it's like that analogy of, if you bless someone, you get twice the blessings back. So, for example, I have donated equipment to my local gym. My local gym, when I was competing and doing exhibition stuff and supporting the gym as well with stuff by social media and doing stuff at the local Aberdeen motorcycle races, gave me free membership for 3 years to support me. I've had someone at the counter yesterday and the gym owner was explaining the stuff that I'd done at these races and said, have you got a nail in your bag you could bend for this new member? And so on and so forth. And I'm happy to go over and show off like a wanker. Right? And then we'll have conversations with the older fellas about PED use and TRT in their case, and so on and so forth. Or I saw a video just this morning where someone was trying to do a 661-pound, 300-kilo deadlift, and he fails. And this fella's shouting at him, literally a random member's going, come on. So the video cuts away, and the fella comes back to have a second attempt. And when he gets it, he succeeds. And their chest bumping and giving each other high fives, shit. And it's completely fucking random. So what sometimes happens now is you'll get people that go to the gym with their headphones on. They don't talk to anybody. They're looking at their phone for a tune or whatever else. They do their shit and they leave. And what I've found for me is how you're perceived by the other members, the interaction you have with the other members, your relationship with the gym ends up being, sometimes this has happened, where the gym owner says to the gym members, what piece of equipment do you want to see in the gym? Do we need bigger dumbbells? What would you like your money to go on? The gym owners, if people come in with muddy foot, well, you can fucking clear that mud off the floor. Here's the mop. And you put back into the gym what you're getting out. Because let's be honest, guys, especially at our level, and I think it applies to all three of us, and hopefully a high percentage of the listeners as well, it can be a fucking sanctuary for some of us. How we feel about ourselves and our physiques or our strength or whatever can be proportionate to our mental health. And here's the thing, and I don't even think some of the people listening will understand this. If, like Noah, you've got this amazing upper body and you're in a vest and you're in a gym, you might actually be inspiring and motivating people. If they start to see Noah get ready for a stage competition, those people that are at the beginning of a journey might be inspired. And so therefore, your influence on the people around you, how you are in the gym, your relationship to those people, how helpful you are, not going up and telling people how to do their shit if they don't want you to, but just the vibe that you give off and that kind of interaction. The gym supports you. The members of the gym support you. People will come to your show and cheer you on from the gym, not just family and friends, but from the gym. And so this back and forth, and this is part of the community that we do with the forums as well. If someone competes on the forum and they place first or second, or if they get their pro card, we fucking love it. Do we want Noah on stage? Yes. Do we want to bring his legs up? Yes. Does he need maybe to go to another gym? Maybe. That kind of stuff. But the simple fact that we're supporting people can sometimes make that journey better, easier. And I've been incredibly lucky, perhaps because of the history that I've had in the sport, perhaps just because of my personality and the way that I communicate and whatever. If I got paid by the word of me a millionaire, my ability to do that in gyms, and especially here in South Wales, has been very nice for me, very nice for me. And I hopefully give as much as I get back from those people when I'm supported, whether that's me saying, do you want my old Fig bar? I've got a new one in the house. When I accidentally, deliberately kind of brought 2 sacks and bars, I donated one to the gym and kept one here. So no matter where I go, I can train on that piece of equipment. Cost me £100-something, it's no big deal, that kind of thing. And those gestures are seen by the people around you and seen by the gym owner, and they go, this is donating pieces of equipment to the gym. When I helped them buy the 50-kilo plates, and then it turned out I was probably the only motherfucker using the 50-kilo plates. So they sold to me the 50-kilo plates at a loss. So they're now in my gym. And then people saw that I had 50-kilo plates. So another gym sold me some 50-kilo plates because they've seen the pictures of the 50-kilo plates that I'd brought off my local gym. And this stuff's like, it just fucking becomes something more in and of itself. And you end up being blessed because not only have you got this great physique, but you're inspiring people around you, you're kicking your ass, you're enjoying your own journey, people supporting you, and then the whole thing fucking adds to something, to the point where perhaps, can I bring this piece of equipment to the gym with me so long as I'm not on arsehole and I'm not dropping it on the floor or not fucking off some poor person that's fat and all this kind of stuff. I was probably, and I'll just finish with this, as judgmental as the next person when I was a teenager when it comes to fat people at the gym and someone who's overweight in the corner sweating away on the treadmill or whatever else. And eventually the penny dropped, and I realized this person has made a decision to come to the gym, to get into shape, which is a positive step. Why am I over here being judgmental? Why don't I go over there and be supportive? And I've done that. And I've done it with people that are with PTs. I said, listen, I can see that you're transforming. I can see that you're getting into shape. Keep at it, slugger, and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So that whole back and forth, and the reason why we do these shows, and the reason why Noah's on today, is all part of that particular thing. So Noah, there might be a time where you need to change gyms just for a piece of equipment or spend a little bit more money, see it as an investment in yourself. But equally, you've got to the level that you've got to so far just training at Planet Fitness and doing the things that you're doing. And the simple fact that you've got a Planet Fitness that can get £1,000 on a leg press is kind of good, because I know places that won't let you put more than £400 on the leg press. So you're doing quite well already. And again, there's the intensifiers that I refer to will be some of the things that will help you get the absolute most out of any situation and any piece of equipment you possibly can. So fingers crossed on those things as well. Back to you guys.
So let me, let's touch on the next couple topics, and let's talk about. I'm going to turn it over to Noah, and give Noah some podcast time on this one, because I want to know, because your biggest influence. What's the biggest influence for you to do the grind and cycle steroids and go on stage? What are you chasing? What's going on there?
Well, I will preface this by saying I am obsessed with golden era bodybuilding, and I watch Pumping Iron and all the old documentaries and any old training footage I can find on YouTube. I'm obsessed with the look, the mentality, and the hardcore training from the 70s era bodybuilder. And I can say the guy that really sticks out to me, and it's no surprise now because I've mentioned him in my log, despite what guys think of his personality outside of the gym, which I don't really care about, I'm looking at him as a bodybuilder, and his style of training is Frank Zane. And I'm currently doing his program right now, with my current cycle and log. And I've already seen amazing results in a matter of, 3-4 weeks of running his program. So Zane is definitely a big influence for me as far as what I want to look and what I'm going for aesthetically. Arnold once said it best when Zane beat him in the Olympia, saying, "I just got beat by by a man with chicken arms. So like it's not always about size. And I know we live in a day and age where guys are like, oh, you got to be massive, you got to be this, you got to be that. And it's just not true. I'm a firm believer that if I come in peeled, I come in on point, I have the muscle insertions, I have the roundness and the muscle bellies, and I look good, I feel like I could beat somebody who's bigger than me. It's an illusion. Bodybuilding's an illusion, right? Like we're trying to look bigger than what we are. Like me personally, I'm in the gym and I have people come up to me all the time and they're like, dude, you're huge. And I'm like, I'm 214 pounds. And they just look at me like a deer in the headlights. They're like, what? I'm like, I'll step on a scale right now. So like, but as far as influence goes, I also like Francis Benefatu. He was a French bodybuilder. That guy had amazing genetics. If you guys want to Google a picture of him, I'm sure you guys probably know who he is. But my God, that guy was absolutely peeled. He's another influence of mine. Obviously Arnold. But what keeps me on the grind is just one day I just looked at myself, and this was like 10, 12 years ago. I was just out of shape, just looked like crap. I kept staring at the man in the mirror and I didn't recognize who I was. I didn't like who I was. And I was like, you know what? I am going to get in the best shape of my life come hell or high water. Nothing is going to stop me or get in my way. I'm going to figure this thing out. And I went into this blind. Everything I learned nutrition wise was on my own, from Googling to reading to YouTube, putting together meal plans. I did it on my own. I've never had one coach in my life. The pictures that you guys have seen have all been my own doing, my own coaching, my own diet, my own bodybuilding routine. This is the first time I'm actually following somebody else's routine. The stuff when I got in really good shape with the photos you guys have, that was all me. Um, and I've thought about getting a coach at some point, but it's hard to trust people. It's like, who's going to rip me off and take my money and just feed me a load of crap that's not true, or tell me things I already know.
I mean,
But if
even at the pro level in any sport, like the NFL, there's incompetent coaches. Like players, they've
yeah,
interviewed players.
exactly.
Like this guy was a dumb. They have stories ahead of the Super Bowl. He changed the game plan. I think there was a Raiders coach, Brian Callahan. I watched a show about it. Bill Callahan. He changed the Raiders game plan literally the day before the Super Bowl from a
Boy,
running to run the ball to let's throw the ball like crazy, and they ended up with like eight turnovers in that game against the Bucks and got their ass kicked. So it's like this incompetence even at level. So I don't blame you. But what's interesting to me, you mentioned Frank Zane. This very podcast, episode 110, I interviewed Frank Zane with Coach Trevor, and now he's the guy you're following. And now this is episode 600, and you're on the episode. So that just shows you in life how life can be like a big circle in life, and how things
absolutely.
can actually happen. And that's kind of amazing. And
That's
Mobster's showing
awesome.
us
That's so
pictures
awesome.
of Frank Zane in
I love
front
it.
cover of a magazine as well.
Absolutely love it. That guy has, like, I don't know how you guys feel. Mobster being from a powerlifting background,
Yeah.
and I know he
Mobster will
appreciates
chime in on it. Yeah,
bodybuilding
go ahead.
too, but
Yep.
like Zane to me, just he was the total package. Like, I don't care if he had small arms. Like, if you look at the guy from head to toe, he was absolutely Greek god status. The guy was just absolutely peeled, and his method was amazing with how he achieved it. It's like I it just still blows my mind how he was able to achieve so much, and he wasn't doing anything crazy. Like, if you look at his meal plans and how he ate and what he did, it was a very simplistic approach.
Yeah, I remind Arnold Schwarzenegger made some comments about Frank Zane. Described, I think they called him the professor. He was an actual maths teacher, as some of you will know, and they called him a professor because he was one of the first that was weighing food, was very analytical to keep notes on what worked and didn't work, and so on and so forth. And the thing was that Arnold himself had to get defeated by Frank to realize that being a big, muscular 21, 22-year-old as he was, coming over from Europe, where everybody said that his shit didn't stink, and standing on stage. And he'd also had that thing when he went to Vince's gym and spoke to Vince Garonda, and he says, "Oh, hi, I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Universe." And Vince takes a cigar out of his mouth and says, "You look like a fat fuck to me." And then the next couple of weeks, he's on stage with Frank, and Frank has ripped the fuck. And Arnold realized the lesson was to be learnt here, that I can't just go over there and be as big as a house and win competitions. I need to be big and cut. I need to be big and in shape. And then Arnold being Arnold sat Frank down, made Frank think he was like his best buddy in the whole universe, although they are kind of friends, but picked his brains to learn as much as he possibly can about whatever the fuck Frank was doing to get into shape. So it was a lesson for Arnold to become the great bodybuilder that he became by realizing that Frank was at that point the better bodybuilder. And as you say, literally, it is an illusion. No one's measuring a person's arm on stage. No one's getting the scales out. We like to know these things, and there are height, weight restrictions in certain classes. But the open classes is an example of where a small man can beat a big man if the smaller man is in shape. And what have we had the last 3 years is three former 212 competitors have won the Mr. Olympia. In other words, the shorter, better bodybuilder was beating the bigger, not quite so good bodybuilders. Now, we've still got a chance of a bigger person like Samson Duada maybe coming in and kicking ass this year. A couple of others that are on periphery of maybe winning. But there's the better, shorter bodybuilders that have been winning the last 2 years, 3 years. So the visual thing is important. I've seen that because I've been to bodybuilding shows, and we've even done the whole pound for pound thing in strongman and powerlifting or whatever else in that particular regards. What about you, Steve, in terms of your influences and whatever versus mine? So we'll touch on you first.
So for me, like, I'm a big believer in you follow what your parents do. There's an old commercial, I'm sure Noah remembers this from when we were younger. I think Noah's a little younger than me, but there was this commercial, parents who use drugs have kids that use drugs. I don't know if you remember that, Noah.
Yep, I
But
sure
like
do.
everyone used to always make fun of that commercial, how stupid it is, but it's so fucking true. Like you see, like parents influence what their kids do. So I grew up watching like my parents bust their ass working. I watched my dad go and fucking work out for like 2-3 hours and be sweating and then go jump in the pool and do laps in the pool. So I that was definitely one of the things that I grew up with. And in this obsession with fitness and really killing it. And that's been the way I work out is I kill. I don't work out 7 days a week, 6 days a week, even 5 days a week. I'll work out 3 or 4 days a week, but I'll fucking destroy my body in those 3 or 4 days. And that's been my strategy just from that influence I've gone. But like in the reason, like when it comes to bodybuilding itself, like I don't, man. For some reason, this like most of this shit just repels the shit out of me. The grifting and the scamming and just the amount of bullshit that gets spewed out there by people in the fitness industry. It really repels me, man. Like I can't. It's really annoying
Yeah, you gotta put
to
your
me.
blinders on, man. It's
It's just
it's a
yeah,
seedy world we live in with this stuff, and it's kind of really shitty that it's like that because
yeah,
I try and stay as humble as possible at all times. I'll go out of my way to train people for no money or to
Yeah,
give them diet advice. I'm the type of
yeah,
guy to where if somebody leaves their weights on the ground, I re-rack them. Like I treat people the way I want to be treated, and I try
mm,
and take the humble approach and take time for everybody because I didn't get to where I was with the level of fitness I reached by not learning from other people. So I would be a shitty person to not bestow the correct information on somebody else who's just starting a journey. Because as I've explained to people in the gym, when they're like, "Man, you got a good physique. How did you get like that?" I'll be like, "Listen, brother, you have what it takes mentally and physically to reach where I'm at. It just takes hard work, dedication, and you willing to murder everything in your way and let nothing
so,
stop you."
I
But I
got
try
fine,
and
more.
offer
Let me
advice.
just
fine.
say this. I'll let Mobster in, but I got more respect for the dude with like below average or average genetics who goes in the gym and busts his ass and
Yeah,
gets results than I got for the guy who's been like a jock or athlete his whole life, always like who's got fantastic genetics and who fucking just clowns around. It was funny because I can remember back high school and college, I did a lot of competing and powerlifting and stuff. And some of these dudes, like, I would not see them training at all. I would never see. They'd show up maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks to train. But then when we go do competitions, they fucking win. They do well. They place top 5, top 8, whatever. And I'm here busting my ass just to get 8th place. So for me, like, there's definitely that's the problem with bodybuilding is that genetics really gives you a huge advantage. So I get that. And most of you maybe out there don't understand that quite yet. And maybe you guys need to know. I know Noah, you understand. I know Mobster, you understand it. But a lot of you out there may not quite get that yet. But as you gain experience and you watch people, we've seen so many people put up logs. I love to see the logs on the forum where you see people post their first pictures and they look just like the average, dad bod or mom bod,
I know I
whatever.
look like shit when I've posted my first log photos compared to what I
Yeah.
look like in the
And
end.
then you see the progression by page 50, page 100. There's one guy in Australia. I think his blog is UGLOZ something. You guys know what I'm talking about. But man, when he first started out, he looked just like this average kid you'd find like in a library or something, like, and now the dude looks fucking, he's vascular, he's got big size, and he's got so much more room to improve in from here. So that's what motivates me. That's what excites me more than than seeing these crop pictures on Instagram of people. Go ahead, Monster.
Yeah, I don't crop
Or no,
mine. Yeah. No, you guys are good. I just wanted to touch on like real quick before Mobster goes, if that's okay.
sure, go ahead.
Um, I think working out at Planet Fitness gives me a unique perspective because I see obese people, I see average people, and sometimes I see people like me, but it keeps my perspective and my train of thinking humble. It keeps me in line because I see people and I'm reminded every day like that's where I used to be. That's what I used to look like. This is what you can look like. And I feel like the people who see me at Planet Fitness, because I've been working out at the same location for like 12 years, they've seen where I started and they see where I'm at now. And so I just think that like it keeps me humbled and it keeps me grateful for what I was able to achieve. And personally, I will be honest with you guys. Uh, and you guys touched on this before too, where you're like the outside perspective of somebody is different than your perspective. For
Yes.
me, my body is never enough. I have body dysmorphia. I will fully admit that. No matter how good I look, even at my peak with the photos you guys saw, I felt I looked like absolute shit. So to me, what keeps me grinding the most is I feel like I'm never good enough. I'll never achieve enough. And even though perfection is not possible, what drives me is chasing that impossible task of perfection that I will never reach, but I will die trying.
Yeah, I mean, look, right. One of the things, and I'm lucky in a way that I've been able to do this for a very long period of time. I've been rewarded. I won something called the Ambassador of the Year award from the Oscar Heidenstam Foundation back in the day, just for representing the sport in a positive, particular way. And the stuff I showed the guys on camera was a 1953 copy of Health and Strength of John Grimek. I've got magazines going back to the 1900s, literally 1900s, 124 years old. I'm aware of the history of the sport. And so there's an element of what we're doing that we all share, okay? And one of the things that's been kind of fucked up but cool at the same time, and I think this applies to a lot of sports as well, especially applies when you've retired and you're not trying to kick the other motherfucker's ass. If I'm talking about American football, for example, or soccer or whatever, where we're able to reflect over stuff that we've done or stuff that someone else done. So, for example, let's say that I was a high standard Premier League division footballer back in the day, and I was considered to be an amazing striker or something like this. And again, 20 years later, I'm on a TV show. There's 3 or 4 former professional footballers like myself, and we're going, when you did this and when you did this, but what inspired you? And I go, hang on, there was this one fella that was fucking amazing, and he did this and he did this and he did this, and as good as I was, he was better, and he motivated me and he inspired me. And one of the things I'm able to do sometimes is point out that we might argue and bitch and just be stupid idiot men from time to time, but mostly every single motherfucker listening to this show wants to be better. They want to be stronger, they want to be more muscular, they want a better physique. But they all have some kind of dysmorphia. Am I strong enough? Am I muscular enough? Whatever. Right? It's varying degrees, but we've all kind of got it a little bit. Okay. And there's no harm, for example, if we play chess and wanted to be a better chess player, or golf and wanting more hole-in-ones. It's all the fucking same thing. The people that post the most comments are the ones that lack the ambition or the drive. And so we understand that. And a good example for me in terms of influence, and I've had different ones over the years, but I'll pick on one. So I've been training probably for 20 years when I started doing the grip stuff, and got kind of good at grippers, the metal grippers where you close the handles and they're made out of aluminium, whatever else. And I got kind of good at that to the point where I was the third person in the United Kingdom, in Great Britain, to close a number 3 caption as a crush gripper. I then started to get interested in competitions. And in the first competition, I was in the quote unquote pro class because I'd closed all 3 of us that were competing in that class had closed this gripper. But I came third, which means I came last. The next time I competed, there was more people in that group. Not everybody had closed the gripper, but we was all considered to be open or pro level. And I came 8th and got bumped up from 8th to 7th. But there was only 8 people in the class, so I was next to last. And my mentor, also rival, competitor, judge, promoter, whatever, David Horn said, you're very, very good at that, meaning the grippers, but you're only okay or so-so on the other events. And you need to bring up your weak events. You won't necessarily win all the events, but if you've got few weak events and a sufficiently level, even on your bad days, on your weak events, that's high enough, you'll start to place. And it took me about 2 fucking years of ignoring him to finally have the penny drop to listen to what he was saying, to allow him to influence me and bring up my weak lifts. And from that point forward, I was 4th, I was 3rd, I was 2nd, I was 1st, to the point where I won against David. I think competing at all those competitions, 4 British championships and 2 European championships, because he made me not be a one-trick pony. He made me be a better all-round grip strength athlete just by saying, bring up your weak shit, be better at those things and whatever else. There was a lot of rivalry, and naturally you're going to have that with someone you want to compete with. But at the same time, when I had my head up my ass in 2011 and I didn't want to live where I was living and I wanted to run the fuck away, whatever else, he was one of the people that reached out to me and says, come down and spend a couple of days here if you need to, get your fucking head right, have a couple of workouts with me and whatever else. I'm also, in a perverse way, because I've been doing this for a very, very long time, been recognized as someone who's been around the iron game such a long time, 40-something years, and because I've been recognized in other ways, I got invited, for example, to come and be a witness for someone's world record attempts locally. And they said they wanted me there because you know about the history of this. You all know how important this is. You understand how long it's taken me to get to this particular level. And if anybody questions it, I can point them in your direction and say, did he do it right? Was he cheating? Did whatever? And you'll be able to put them straight because you saw it for yourself. So there's that, to me, is a reward. It means I'm having an influence on those other people. And I think something Noah said about the influence that he's having now, because people have seen the journey that he's made training at Planet Fitness for 12 years, and they've seen the transformation take place. So there's an element of what we do that's incredibly selfish. It's what we fucking want in our heads, in our bollocks, whatever. And what we see in the mirror and what we see on the bar is incredibly selfish. It can be selfish when we're not always with our family and stuff like that. But there are times when we could do things for charity that's associated with our physique or our strength, where we can influence the community in a positive way.
Donating blood is a huge one.
Yeah, donating blood. Let me give you one example, right? One more example. Let's move on to the next subject. So one more example. I did a father and son's evening in a Muslim cafe in Gloucester when I was living there. I'd also taken part in 3 or 4 Barton fairs, which involved us one year pulling a fire engine into town. On another occasion, we pulled an aeroplane as a group and so on and so forth. And all these things raised money for charity. And one of the fellas that were training with us had gone to the World Strongman in those days with repeated viewings, was getting a 200 million viewing audience across the world in sports bars, on cable and whatever else. And we decided, having had a Saturday workout, to walk to town to a place called Burger Star, which did this 5-star burger. Let's go and have this amazing award-winning burger in town as a treat after the gym. And we're walking to town. Now, he's been on the telly, and I'd just done shit locally. And all the little Asian kiddies, all the little Muslim kiddies, especially the boys, were shouting out, Strongman Steve, to me. And I point to my buddy and go, I'm more famous than you are, taking the piss. But it was a local thing. It was influencing the kids, and they coming up to you and they're asking you, flex your muscles and all that kind of vibe. And you're just having fun with it because you're enjoying it, but you're having this influence on kids. You're doing stuff within the community, whether that's donating blood, They see the local FBB Pro does it all the time, Steve. Same as yourself. You go down there with your biceps, with your triceps, with your abs, etc., popping for your shirt, and there's this, and you're doing it regularly, and you know that this is benefiting people. And if you post it on Facebook, on social media, there might be another 15 or 20 or 30 followers that do your example and follow what you've done. So in a way, whether it's training in the gym for our selfish reasons and doing whatever, if we've been influenced by people, but we're also, please God, influencing other people in a positive way. So yeah, let's move on for that now. One of the subjects here, and it'd be interesting to talk about, people training blind with no real purpose or goals set in place. Now I see this all the time. They just like to go to the gym. Talk about that versus, how you train yourself or whatever.
So I'll touch on that first and I'll bring in Noah, but like you go to these gyms and, one of the things I see is, you go to these gyms for a year straight or 2 years straight, you see the same dudes on the elliptical. They're on there like I show up to the gym, I see them on the elliptical, they're going away like a gazelle, on the elliptical. And then I leave the gym after my workout and they're still on the elliptical and they literally don't lose any weight. And that's one of the things that really pisses me off is it's basically called spinning your wheels. And it's the, I'm assuming they're going to the gym because they want to lose weight. They want to lose that belly, right? But they're not losing it. It's just they're staying the same, even though they're on the elliptical for an hour, watching the TV or whatever as they're doing the elliptical. So what's going on here? It's what they're doing outside of the gym. It's their diet. They'll leave the gym. I'll be outside, coming in the gym, and I'll hear a couple guys, hey, let's go to Chick-fil-A. They just went to the gym for an hour, and now they want to go to Chick-fil-A, or they want to go to McDonald's, or they want to go out to eat at a restaurant. It's all junk food. It's all refined oils they put in the food. It's all satiating things and that they put in the foods. It's all like fake food. It's additives. It's all other crap, And you put that stuff in your body, and all that work you did. And we've seen this from European studies, fascinating European studies that have been done over the past 30 years, 20, 30 years, where they've actually tracked people and they've seen this stuff. And what they found is that you can do something really, really good when it comes to your health. It could be eating a salad, it could be working out, it could be whatever. But if you drench that salad with a shit ton of dressing, you just ruined it. You turned something that should have been healthy into unhealthy. Same thing with working out. You can go on the elliptical for an hour every day and you leave that gym and you go eat Chick-fil-A or you go eat McDonald's or any other fast food or Domino's pizza, whatever. You just ruined it. You ruined your entire hour workout. For what? Another thing too, these drinks, these energy drinks and these post-workout drinks, these smoothie drinks that people put in their body, it's all sugar. It's all crap in there. It's sugar. It fucks with your liver. It fucks with your insulin levels, So that's, to me, that covers up training blind with no real purpose or goals in place. That's spinning your wheels. You're not going to get anywhere. So you really have to nail everything down. You got to nail down your training, your diet, your sleep, your stuff. We always tell people on the forum when they're about to do a log, we list out a bunch of things we need from. We need to know if you're only getting 3 hours of sleep and you're going and working out, an hour, 5 days a week, when is your body going to have a chance to recover from that? It's not. What's going to happen is you're going to wear out your body. You're going to end up with all these injuries and you're going to be basically crippled by the time you're 50 or 60 years old because you're not getting the proper sleep. So all this stuff plays a role. The supplementation, the diet, the nutrition, all this stuff plays a role. The stress. If you have a stressful job, if you've got a stressful house life, you come home and your wife nags you, and all this stuff has an effect to where you're not going to really accomplish a damn thing. You've got to get as much shit in order as you can. Noah, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I'm just laughing because Mobster will love this one because pre-COVID days, I'd be busting my ass at Planet Fitness, right? And all of a sudden, and I didn't know this before I started working out there. I'm working on and busting my ass. I'm on the elliptical. All of a sudden, I see a Domino's pizza guy come in with 20 boxes of pizza, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, we're at a gym. Well, unbeknownst to me, there's something that was called Pizza Monday and Bagel Tuesday. So I'm seeing all these obese people busting their ass doing cardio for an hour, and then they get off and they grab 8 pieces of pizza, and I'm like, "What's going on right now?" Like, and then it hit me. I'm like, "Man, this isn't a gym. This is a business model. This is absolutely perfect for making
Yeah,
money."
it's brilliant, right? That's what I'm
It's
saying.
brilliant.
It's
Where you keep
brilliant.
people fat and they keep coming back. And another brilliant part is if you wanna cancel your membership, you have to have a handwritten letter in person. Like, it's crazy, but and to touch on, the training blind, like, I wanna quote Dorian here, and I won't do the full quote because YouTube stuff, but, I'm sure you guys have heard this. He said, "Someone's got a gun to the back of your head, right? And whether you live or die depends on these reps that you do and how you perform them." And I'm paraphrasing that because I don't want to go into what he fully said, but that's kind of how I approach training. Like, I am there like somebody has a gun to the back of my head and I need to perform. Like that I put myself under constant pressure. I perform well under pressure, and I have a constant clear vision in my mind. Like, I will sit at home sometimes before I work out and I'll just close my eyes for like 10, 15 minutes and I'm envisioning where I'm at, where I'm going to be, where I want to end up, and how I'm going to accomplish each step one by one by one until I reach that end goal. And once I reach that end goal, I set a whole nother list of goals. So for me, training with a purpose will keep the fire inside of you lit. It will keep your body wanting to produce. It will keep you wanting to grind when you're sore, you're tired, you're sick, whatever have you. When you keep thinking of those goals and what's on the line, and if it really means as much as you say it does, because talk is cheap, actions are what matter. If you're one of those people to where you just talk a lot, I don't even want to listen to you because unless you can physically show me the actions behind your words, those words mean nothing. So, in my opinion, you need to be hardcore and you need to be a little crazy. Like, to do what we do, you have to be twisted to a certain degree because most people, when something is hard in life, they quit. I see it in the gym every year. Once New Year's comes around, the New Year's resolutioners, the gym will be packed for 2 or 3 months, and then all of a sudden these people vanish. And it's like Greg Plitt said, the really great fitness model, rest in peace to Greg Plitt. He said, on this journey is hard. The road is long, and on this journey, you'll see bodies of people who couldn't hack it. And it's true. I've seen so many people start and quit over the 12 years that I've been at the gym. It will make your head spin. So for me, I always train with purpose. I train with fire. I know my goals. I know my end game. I know what I need to do. And now I just need to execute day in and day out. You have to be hardcore. Otherwise, you will not make it. And this was me just being an average Joe and a gym rat way before I ever thought about competing. And now that I am competing and running cycles, my mind has transformed even further down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'll tell you a couple of things. One was I've had the phrase. I mean, people have come up to me and said, "Fucking hell, you're strong." Da, 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 da. And I said, "Listen, I've been training for 20 years, 30 years, and now, of course, 40 something years. If I'm not fucking strong now, I'm never going to be strong. So I should be strong after all this sort of period of time." One of the things I've done back in the day, and this echoes Noah's comment about having a sense of purpose, is I've literally written out a training plan. And I think I did it. I went onto Word. I went on a word processing document, and I wrote out every single training session for the next 16 weeks on 1 or 2 or 3 different exercises, lifts I was going to do. And I'd allow for the fact that I might have a couple of those weeks where I was off plan. So if it was a 16-week plan, I'd have like 12 or 13 weeks written out, have a couple of off weeks, and then at the end of the 16 weeks, I needed to be doing the number that was stated for the 16th week. And that sense of purpose, that plan, I've literally gone, for example, where I'd worked out where I should be 5% better on the lift from last year. I'd worked out that my competition should be 5% better if they're training their asses off. And I worked out I needed to be a little bit further ahead than they was, what I thought the numbers they hit last year, what the numbers I thought they were going to hit this year, and made sure that my numbers were as good as, if not ever so slightly better than theirs, so that on the day of the competition I would win. And I'd literally planned that out. I've talked about, and I think this happened yesterday, I was disappointed yesterday and I had to have a fucking word with myself. I said I struggled and had to get a spot with a 195 kilo bench press, which is, in my age and my weight group and all the rest of it, with 195 kilos puts me in the top 8 in the over 50 to 59 class in the whole of the United Kingdom. And I'm bitching because I hadn't done 195 for 2 singles what I wanted to yesterday, 4 weeks after, as you guys know, having fucking pneumonia. So I had to have a word with myself about being a fucking idiot and having a moment to reflect back on the fact that I'd gone in with this plan. The plan hadn't succeeded, but you're doing national standard fucking lifting and you're bitching because it wasn't the best workout you should have had. I had another one where I think years ago I posted on a grip forum that still exists, the grip board, and stated that I'd had a really crappy workout, and someone said, your crappiest workout would be my best workout ever. But on to the not having a plan and not having a goal or sense of purpose, I'm also reminded on the grip board again, where someone says something like, and they meant it as a compliment, but they said something like, I'll never be as strong as you are. And I said, not with that fucking attitude. I had no idea how strong I was going to get when I started this journey back in 1980. I had zero, I didn't even train for grip strength or strength at all until the year 2000. I'd always been more of a lifter / bodybuilder in those days than a strength athlete or grip specific focus or whatever else. I had no idea how good I was getting a bench press. Literally in the last 12 months, it's come on gangbusters. I'm doing the best I've ever fucking done at the age of 59, having trained. This year will be 44 fucking years come August. So the idea, I mean, first off, my desire to be better and the dysmorphia that we touched upon earlier drives us to be better. And we might only wait until we fucking retire before we realize how good we are. There are some people that go to the gym because they like to be able to say that they go to the gym. Best of luck to you, buddies. That's your thing. It's not my thing. I can't just, quote unquote, go to the gym. And if I'm in the pub, restaurant, whatever, yeah, I train 2 hours a week. We have people online that talk about training 6 days or 7 days a week. And I'm in the gym for 4 hours. So what? The gym owner's in longer than you are. The PTs are in the gym longer than you are. Dorian said it best again. Most of his workouts were 1 hour. You should be going to, I think he was back in those days, Noah, that you touched upon, training 4 days a week. I only train 4 days a week. I visualize stupid numbers. I think I said one of the machines here I've done 635 kilos on, but in my mind, the night before, I visualized the idea of loading that fucker up to 800 kilos, 1,700, 1,800 pounds. So I definitely think there's a desire and a drive that puts me in a particular mindset. And I definitely have this thing where I'm almost kind of ignoring the fact that I'm getting to be an old motherfucker. And I still want to do fucked up, stupid fucking shit. I might not compete as much anymore, but I certainly have challenges for myself. And that, it's just a challenge motivates me to go there. I will also ease off the gas. I don't trade balls out all year round. Literally the bench press thing from yesterday, I think, fuck it. You've just recovered from pneumonia. You've taken 4 weeks to get back to where you are. Ease the fuck back off. Do a 12-week training cycle. Put some PEDs maybe at the end of that 12 weeks, and then take it back up to where it should have been just before pneumonia kicked in. So the whole sense of purpose and having a plan is definitely something. I mean, the obvious thing is that I couldn't get my head round if I was an obese motherfucker and I had, say, for example, a 50-inch waist. And my desire was, I'm standing in the mirror, I need to bring that waist down. All right, what's your plan? If people, you can ask people in the gym, and I don't want it to sound insulting, but it might feel insulting if you ask them. If they can't say to you, well, this is what I've cut my calories back and I'm doing more steps and I'm using this fat burner product or whatever, then what do they think's going to, what are they waiting for? The fairy godmother to fucking set up with a magic wand? I don't care that you come to the gym. I care that when you come, because the gym owner cares about that more than I do. I care that when you come, you have a plan, you have a sense of purpose. Like Steve said, there's no good going to the gym with that plan in mind and then immediately hitting Chick-fil-A when you leave. You know,
it reminds me.
It
reminds me of people who go to hockey games. This pisses me off, like NHL games, especially in America. It's probably more popular up where you live, Noah. But like people go to these hockey games, especially in the South, and they just go there and they fucking socialize the whole day. They don't even pay attention to the game.
Yeah,
I
I'll
I
talk
went to
on
a
that
game with
when
him.
you're done.
The guy in front of me, I went to this game, last game I went to, the guy in front of me was literally talking to the guy behind him the whole fucking game. Like, didn't even like look at what was happening. Like, why do you even go to? Why would you pay money?
Must have cost him some money, man. What the fuck?
They don't care. They like, why would you pay money to go to a fucking game and not even watch the game? It doesn't make sense. And then
Guys,
the
I've
foot,
literally had to yell at people for stuff like that. Like I'll like be in the gym and I'm trying to use a 6 foot mirror and I have some stupid idiot who's like in like 18, 19, 20, and he's with 3 or 4 of his friends and they're all taking selfies and fixing their hair and they're not even working out. Like by the time I get done doing 100 reps, they're still on set 1 because they're
yeah,
fixing their goddamn hair in the mirror and I just want to punch somebody. And like
yeah.
that's not who I am, but I
Well,
just want to be
yeah.
like, motherfucker, get out of the way.
That reminds me of a funny gym story. Like, I showed up to the gym and I'm like working out, right? And my first set, and these two guys, they like, oh, what's up, buddy? Haven't seen you in a while. They shake hands. They sitting there talking. Each one of them, like one guy is in between sets. The other guy has his gym bag in his hand. He just showed up to the gym. And by the time I finished my workout, like 45 minutes, an hour later, they're still standing there talking in the middle of the gym. I'm like, dude,
Yep.
like, did you guys come here to fucking socialize? Or did you guys, but
That's
that's
what it
what
is, man.
happens.
It's a
That's
social
what
club
happens.
now.
Yeah.
Nobody lifts anymore because it's hard. Like it's easier to just say I went to the gym, but you didn't do shit in the gym. You just stood in a gym. So I guess that
Yeah.
qualifies as being in a
It's
gym, but
hard
you didn't
because
do anything.
the gym's like a social environment, but it's hard. So all I do is just put earphones in my, and I try not to make friends. But I'm not a social
Same.
person. But like a lot of people want to make friends with me. And when you start befriending people in the gym, the problem becomes they come and they ask you for a spot. Like you could be on the other side of the gym, they'll come ask
Yep.
you for a spot. Hey, dude, I'm gonna do bench. And that's the problem. I had a guy one time ask me to like help him suit him up with one of those bench press suits. I know
Oh no,
Mobster, you know
that
what I'm
probably
talking
took
about.
forever.
And I was like, dude, is this guy gonna take me into the locker room and like rape me or something? I was like scared. It was this huge fucking powerlifter. And he's like, comes up to
Uh,
me and he's like, Steve, you
it
know,
puts the lotion on the skin, Steve.
I'm like, dude, this guy's gonna rape me and I can't do anything about it. He's like twice my
Oh
size.
God, that's
So
You can
terrible.
kiss him
That
on the back
sounds
of
like
the
a
neck, Steve.
nightmare.
and he's like all
Nightmare fuel.
sweaty and shit. I'm helping him
Oh, that's
putting the
gross.
bench press suit on. It's like so fucking tight. And like, dude, it's funny. Like he
The
did
guy
it
was
like
trend
one.
out the gills.
I'm like, dude, is this guy gonna ask me every time I run into him now
He's gonna ask
to
you for
Yes.
a
help?
date.
Yes. He's gonna ask me every time I show up to the gym, hey, can you me put my fucking bench? Because I'm like the
It's not an
only
issue, Steve.
guy.
It's only an issue when he invites you out on a date afterwards by way of thanking
Gonna
you.
steal his cornbread. You gonna eat that, Steve?
Yeah. All right.
Let's talk about
Next one.
social influences and the unrealistic
Yeah.
expectations. that
Yeah, I
some
want to
social
hear both of you. I want to hear Noah's interpretation of that because Mobster and I talk about that a lot. But
Yeah,
Mobster
see,
and yeah, go ahead.
no, you're good. No, I thought you were finished. My apologies. Go ahead.
No,
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 I'll
no, no.
say go ahead.
You
Go.
Oh, yeah. So, I I feel like as we progress as a society, we are regressing even more. And it is a sad state of affairs where we are currently at. And the gym is kind of like a cesspool at times because I don't know who's trying to work out and who's just trying to film stuff to look pretty for Instagram. And I absolutely hate it because I was born in the 80s, so like I was part of that technology boom, right? But like my generation still had enough common sense to understand what hard work is and how to do things properly and there's a time and a place for things. I just you get people like V Shred and all these six-pack abs and Mike Chang and I could eat 50 pizzas and do six-pack abs and my metabolism's great because I do this program and it's like there's so many shills who just take a paycheck. Like none of these guys understand fitness. They don't know how to work out. They have decent enough genetics to where they can run a little bit of PEDs and look okay, and then it tricks people into spending hundreds of dollars on useless programs that are crap that you can find online for free that don't even work anyway. It's just these guys don't understand that 99% of the shit you see on social media is a facade. It's fake. It's not real. These people don't believe in it. They just want your money. you need to come on a place like the forums that we have, run a log, talk to real hardcore people that live this lifestyle, that train properly, that understand nutrition, that are some pros on there, some competitors, people who've been in the strength game. Like, you need to find the legit influencers who aren't all over social media, who won't steer you in the wrong direction. And all these people, it's lighting, it's tricks. They get a pump, they alter the lighting, they use 55 different filters to make their abs look amazing and pop, and it's just fake. Nothing about these people on social media is real, and it just pisses me off because it makes it hard for me, because you're in the gym and people talk to you and they're like, oh, like, what's your social media? And I'm like, motherfucker, I don't have one. Like, I don't do this for you guys. I don't do this for random clout. Like, I do this for me because I'm passionate about it. Like, this grind, this hard work, the dedication, the blood, the sweat, the hurt, the pain, that's what I do it for. Like Tom Platt said it best, like, welcome to the pain zone. That's where I live. I don't live on social media like that. It's all bullshit. And that's kind of how I feel about it. Other than what we do on the forums and all the friends and the great community we have outside of this community, I don't trust shit.
Well, we have 3 generations on this podcast. Noah,
Yeah, it's amazing.
You're a millennial. I'm a Gen X, barely a Gen X, and Mobster is a boomer. So we have the 3 generations. But it was
Hey
funny.
man, that grandpa could kick the shit out of me, so I'm not gonna say a
Oh,
damn
I
thing
know.
at his age. I'm just saying, I'm not gonna. He could pick me up and throw me, man. I'm not gonna say nothing.
Steve was trying to talk about me having memories of World War One the other day, the motherfucker.
Yeah,
Well, you probably do, but I mean, either way, like, you're still strong enough to break my cranium, so I'll refrain from
But I'll
comment.
let Mobster talk more about this. Let me just say this: like, there's good things about the internet and social media, and there's bad things. But I think overall, as long as you said it earlier, Noah, as long as you have a filter and you don't obsess over it and you stay off of social media yourself, you'll be good, because the information that's out there today is so good. Like, I can remember when I first started going on, bodybuilding forums and nutritional channels, it was like really bad. Like, the information was so bad that, and you had like a select few guys just bully each other into their, you know, bodybuilding ideology. One of the big ones that I remember when I first started was you have to have 400 or 500 grams of protein a day. And so I started to do that, and I would get like fucking nauseous, and I was like shitting like
Your
8 times
kidneys
a
probably
day.
hated you.
It was so bad. Like, and it's one of the things now, like, now we have like access to proper nutrition online, and so we know you don't have to get 400 or 500 grams of protein a day. You don't have to do some of these things that these old timers used to push. So we've advanced. We see in pro sports, every NFL combine, they're always breaking records. So we've coming a long way with sports science and the way we train and stuff. Got to keep in mind too, back in those days, you could smoke in restaurants, you could smoke on airplanes. Fuck, like, coaches on this NFL, on the sidelines in NFL games in the 70s used to smoke in front of their players. Players used to smoke, you know? So it was just like, we've come a long way to know, like, hey, you probably shouldn't smoke cigarettes. You probably shouldn't even smoke in front of your players. So we've come a long way with a lot of things. So it's like, there's definitely, I think it's what you make out of it. And for me, like, I'm like Noah, like, I despise social media. I had a friend of mine years ago get me into MySpace. He's like, oh, you can meet all these girls on MySpace. And like, so I started getting into social media, and then I just fucking deleted all my, I'm like, you know what? This is stupid. Reddit and Twitter and Instagram and all this
That's
shit. It's all
cool.
garbage. So
Yeah,
I
it
don't,
is.
so I much rather, like you said, like, stick to the forums and stuff. And I think it's a good environment to kind of keep it that way, And so it's
I
all
love it
about
that way.
what you do. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, the reality is certain situations when it comes to social media, full stop, and I'm talking about with the purpose of this podcast would be fitness influencers, but social media's full stop, right? So let me give you an example. Larry Wills and others who do some great videos, arm wrestling, strongman, powerlifting, bodybuilding, and so on and so forth. They record, let's say, a workout that takes an hour. They may well have been doing a collaboration, and Larry's actually touched on this. So it's giving you the sort of reality of the situation. He will have someone that's maybe his team's contacted or the other way around. We should do a video together. It'd be great for our channels. And he said, yep, great, no problem. Let's do a bench press workout together. So they come along and travel maybe across the fucking world, never mind across country, to meet this other person by plane, by whatever. And you hook up in this gym and you thank the gym owner and you go early in the morning so as to not piss members off and whatever else. And you do 2 hours, which is edited down to 40 minutes. Now, one of the things that they don't tell you is that sometimes the editing is 12 hours. It's 12 hours for this 1 hour workout with the preparation and the videos and the editing and whatever else. Then they're not making money from the video, from YouTube. The person that's put the video together and edited the video makes some money from YouTube. Larry will make money from the sale of products on his PR line and so on and so forth. And this is true of, that's just him doing what we talk about, what we know about. Other social influencers go out and hire a sports car. And then the video is them and buddies with the top down and the sun in the hair in the wind in the hair and sunglasses on, and they're wearing a nice outfit and they're bombing around in this Ferrari and it looks fabulous, and they're pulling up and people are going, hi, and how are you, and all the rest of this shit, and they do this video, but they haven't told you it's cost them $600 to hire the car for the day. So the problem is a lot of these give the false impression of how things are. And when it comes to what we do, with some exceptions naturally, and as Steve says, we've got access to information. You want to get big and muscular, train your ass off. You want to get bigger than you are, eat more and train your ass off. When you want to lose weight, eat less, fast, do more cardio, be more active. That doesn't sell. That doesn't make me money. It doesn't make me money telling you this on the podcast. The idea for sometimes when it comes to PEDs, if a gram makes me muscular, 2 grams will make me more muscular. No, it's just going to probably make you more toxic. You might put on another couple of pounds, but you have doubled the dosage, and the issues and the side effects are going to cause you more problems than the £2 is worth. That doesn't sell. I've got, as I said to you earlier on in the show, stuff going back to the 1900s, and some of the information from the 1900s and the 1930s and the 1950s is the same shit as it is now. But we need to reinvent the wheel. We need to say that we've come up with this new thing. Someone was explaining an exercise to me the other day, and I said, that sounds like X, Y, and Z. Why do you fucking call it that? I couldn't understand the name that they were using. Social influencers and fitness people do that all the time. Oh, I've invented this great exercise. Motherfucker was doing it in 1930. You ain't invented shit. But it sells. And then you get this whole thing, which especially when it comes to fitness influencers, and to a lesser degree, it used to be the case with bodybuilding magazines. People are in shape for bodybuilding magazines around the time of a competition. And so the publisher of the said magazine will send them to a studio and get pictures taken of them in competition shape. And then over the next 6 months, 6 issues of the magazine would release these photographs for an arm article, for a chest article, for a back article, giving the impression to us gullible readers that this is how Joe Pro looks all the fucking time, because I've seen Joe for the last 6 months and he's in shape, and all those pictures were taken 3 days after the competition. Fitness influencers do the same thing. And then what makes it worse, and we know this is the case with a couple of those fitness influencers who are dead now, is that they were doing drugs to stay in shape. They were doing fucked up shit, which didn't sell and didn't get mentioned, to stay in shape. They were doing those photographs when they're in shape and then releasing one a week on their social media accounts and so on and so forth, or making sure that they were covered up in the gym for their other pictures and so on and so forth, and creating a false impression. Now, that's marketing. It's kind of advertising 101. It's a great business model, as Noah referred to when you talked about the pizza days and the bagel days at Planet Fitness. But it's annoying because it gives the gullible who want to part with $100 for a diet plan or a training plan, XYZ Pro, quote unquote, social influencer, fitness influencer, sold me this training plan. Look how fucking great they look. This is the reason that they're in shape and so on and so forth. But it doesn't mention the fat burning products. It doesn't mention the drugs. It doesn't mention the photographs are from last summer or from last Christmas or whatever, and so on and so forth. I'm familiar with, for example, the transformation adverts that certain well-known, super big, back in the day, bodybuilding companies would do, which would have, and I'm using Lee Priest as an example, Lee Priest with his belly stuck out, eating a burger in the picture, and then a picture of Lee Priest in competition shape. The one where they would take the person and have them push their bellies out and have their shorts down by their knees and have no tan and really bad lighting, and then literally spray them with tan and have them flex and change the lighting in 1 hour and have that as an after photograph. So I knew of the tricks. Those tricks have been used in the 1950s when they were airbrushing photographs. So this kind of stuff. The problem is the stuff that makes you get into shape, the stuff, it's a grind. We use the word grind because it's a grind. It's hard fucking work. It's what makes us good at anything. And I'll use the analogy that I used earlier on. If I want to get better at chess, I need to play more chess. I need to play chess for 10,000 fucking hours to be a master at chess. Never mind a grandmaster, just to get to that level where someone starts to take me seriously at my game. And few of us want to do something that's going to take 10,000 fucking hours, 3-4 hours a week for how many years to get to that level. They don't want to do that. We're looking for shortcuts. We want a fairy godmother and a magic wand, like I said earlier. So social and fitness influencers make it seem like it's an easy thing, whereas it is not. And that's without getting to the whole genetic advantage, high calf, low calf insertion, a thin skin, how you respond to PEDs, how good your nutrition is. Do you have a personal chef that doesn't get mentioned? And all these other things, you know, your ethnic background, how many hours a week you have spare that can be put towards this thing that you want to become best at, and so on and so forth.
See, before,
like,
so let me just say it, and then we'll move on. I'll let you finish your point, Monster. But before, you know, we got to the modern age where we had these bodybuilding forums, social media, where did people get their information? They got it from the gym bro, or they got it from bodybuilding magazines. And bodybuilding magazines are so heavily biased. You know, they're trying to sell you. They're trying to sell you protein powder or this supplement or whatever that's in the magazine. They're putting, you know, bastardized studies to convince you that you have to take protein powder or your muscles are going to shrink, or you have to take this or that supplement or your muscles are going to shrink. So they do that so you can sell. So really, there's always been, you know, I'll say to people like Noah, the younger guys, millennials and the younger generations who are upset about this, there's always been this type of thing in bodybuilding. We can go back 100 years. They've always been trying to grift you and trying to shake you down for money.
Absolutely, yeah.
I just got done watching Killers of the Flower Moon. And the movie, the whole basis of the movie was, look, these natives got, you know, lucky and they hit oil on their land, which they got put there, by the way, because they got forced to move there.
Moved, yeah.
So they got oil on land. And then guess what happens after they found the oil and they got rich? People came into town basically to steal their money. So there's always been these types of things. As human beings, we're always going to be like that.
Yeah,
and we're like vultures. They're going to circle. You're going to try
snake
to
oil salesman. Yeah,
exactly. So I would say, like, even today, I would say we're even a little better because we have podcasts like this that can kind of steer you in the right direction. So, you know, it's all about that. And I think there's I think people need to be called out when they are bullshitting and lying. They need to be fucking called out, and we need to stop making them heroes and all this stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I see that a lot. Some of the biggest influencers in bodybuilding are guys who've had a history of lying or cheating people or doing something like that. What do you think they're going to do again? They're going to keep doing it.
True.
People are consistent.
There's an access to information that allows us, fortunately, for those of us that know about the history and the stuff that Steve's just referred to, and can use the internet, we are able to go back here. Is this a picture of you when you was a skinny motherfucker before you took drugs? Because I seem to recall that's what you were like 10 years ago. You might have a bunch of people that have only known you for 5 years that don't remember this picture, but I do remember this picture. I do know that you've talked about drugs. There is a picture of you injecting steroids into your ass when you're claiming to be natural and so on. So don't talk shit, motherfucker, because the internet will catch you the fuck out. Let's change on. I want to finish off at the end of the show talking about just how goddamn hard it is to get to 600 shows. So we'll finish on that. But before we do that, one of the topics which I think is kind of important, we're going to all have different opinions on it, why it's important to stay natural as long as possible before you ever run a cycle. I'll just use myself as an example again, okay? Because I know me more than I know anybody else. I started training when I was 15, and my first steroid ever, a debol cycle, and I've mentioned this on other shows, was when I was 37. So I waited 22 years. And what I was kind of able to do in that time was learn how to train. Now, you can do that quickly or you can do it slowly. What do I mean by learning how to train? Okay, reading a book, how to do the bench press, go to the gym, learn how to bench press, but I'm a bodybuilder, I'm not a weightlifter. I haven't learned how to contract my muscles. I haven't learned that I can change the angle of the bench and move the emphasis from the lower pec to the upper pec. I haven't learned, for example, that perhaps I could pre-exhaust. I haven't learned if I slow the movement down, it's harder, and so on and so forth. And then I haven't learned all those nuances, and I touched on that as a subject earlier in the show. And that's just for one muscle. So at some point, I need to learn all of those things. I need to learn the difference nutrition can make. I need to learn if I get up an hour early in the morning, I can spend an hour learning how to be a better bench presser, learning how to be a better bodybuilder, and so on and so forth. And I can't do that. Most people can't do that in a year or 2 years or 3 years. I mean, we had someone come on the forums yesterday and said they're 22 years of age. I've been training for 6 months. I'm on a plateau. I want to do steroids. Motherfucker, you ain't on a plateau. You're just on a bump. You've still got plenty of the road to go. You literally hit a speed bump. You'll go past a speed bump on your gain again. You don't need to do steroids after 6 months in the gym. So it's that kind of thing of for the listener. And this is not an anti-PED thing because we do plenty of pro-PED podcasts to prove that the case. But it is about, and I use the analogy of the chess thing again, it's about learning your craft and what works and how far you can progress as far as you possibly can, naturally, and it doesn't happen 6 months. It might not, I would say for the best, you're realistically looking at 3 years of hard training, knowing what you're doing, working with good coaches, having good influences. I use Noah's a thing of earlier on of following a lot of what Frank Zane was doing. Steve's talked about it as well, and picking over the stuff that Frank was doing to become a better bodybuilder himself. And you can't do that with one book. It takes a long time to learn your craft. Same as it would if you was an apprentice mechanic. You don't go in and 1 year later you're fucking tuning up Ferraris. You're not going to do 1 year of apprenticeship and suddenly be working on Formula One cars. You need to go away and work on a fucking Ford Fiesta or some shit heap and how engines work. And then eventually at some point, 5, 10, 15 years down the road with college degrees, you finally start to work on Formula One cars and racing cars and high-end tuned cars, etc., etc.
Same thing with being a pilot. I mean, you can't just your day one of being a pilot. You're not the captain of a 747.
No, it's 5,000 hours to get to a 747 or something.
You got to fly the little baby planes and work your way up.
Some of the best ones start flying when they're teenagers, just to be able to fly an airline aircraft in their early 30s, and they're only going to be good. You know, the top fellas. I'm thinking the absolute best pilots in the world, and I'm talking about both fighter pilots, military pilots, as well as airline pilots. Very few of them get to 30,000 hours flying, and they do stuff like it's an hour walking around the plane, checking it out, whatever, just so that they know how the plane works. Never mind how it feels when it's flying and stuff. So
that actually makes me laugh because you know how like big muscular bodybuilders are, like they think they just because you know their parents bless them with these amazing genetics, they think that they can fly an airplane. They can do anything. They think they're doctors. They think they can get medical advice. You know, the people better than what the doctor can do. They think, hey, you get a heart attack, come to me. I'll open you up, you know, and clear your artery.
Over here with the body of a Ford Pinto, it's fine.
But it seems like that. So it's like, hey, I'm a bodybuilder. I'm 21 years old. I'm building muscle. Hey, I know better than you. I'm gonna go use steroids. My friend's using
so wild
steroids.
People think that way.
What's your perspective, Noah? Because you're on your second cycle. You're still early in the process.
I'm gonna be brutally honest here because that's what I believe in. If anybody's read my logs, I treat it like an open journal for the public to read, and I don't hold back in my logs. I will tell you guys that, in my opinion, from my current side effects and what I've been dealing with, I would stick under a gram. Less is more. Like, I'm not hitting the stage anytime soon. So if anything, I should probably dial the cycle back because I've never encountered this before. But this go around, I actually had test flu, guys. Like I must have hit a vein at some point and didn't realize it when I injected, but I was pumping gas one night after work, and all of a sudden I started to get chills, like uncontrollable shakes. And then I was hot, I was cold, I had 3 layers on, I was still freezing. Like the heat was
Mm.
on at 85 in my car for my drive home. I was freezing. Like then I was sweating, and it was a nightmare, man. Like I was sick like that for at least 5 days before it finally subsided, and I never ever ever want to feel like that again. And
Noah, Noah, you have learnt how your body responds. You learned things that you shouldn't have done. You've learned things that you will change in future.
right.
And the argument there is that you're literally doing this with cycle number 2. So you are learning every single time you inject, every single cycle you take, and so on and so forth. Talk to that in terms of how you've learned something and how that will benefit other people to wait, to slow things down and whatever else. That way for other people as well.
Right. Yeah. So I trained natural for almost 10 years before I ever touched any PED of any sort. And I will tell you, my first cycle was very low milligram. I think it was like 650 milligrams total. And I ran the cycle for 12 weeks. Beautiful, flawless, no like few pound muscle gain. Blood work was great before, during, and after, like no issues besides minor pip. I took that 650 and turned that into a little bit over a gram. Major side effects all the way through. So like, and I'm only 5 injections in, and I'm splitting my injections 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I could tell you, just upping that another 600 milligrams almost, it's a nightmare. And to be honest with you guys, I see guys pushing, I want to do a gram of this, 2 grams of that. It's not worth it. Like it's not, the grass is not always greener on the other side. Like I am telling you right now from personal experience, do not go too high too soon, because you will learn the hard way like I am. And instead of having a hassle free, enjoyable, clean cycle, you will have problem after problem after problem. It's delayed my training. It's had me in bed for a few days resting, no cardio, no lifting, which ultimately is holding me back from my goals. It's going to take longer for me to progress, because now instead of training and having fun, I'm mentally fucked. I'm worried about the side effects. I'm dealing with physical and emotional trauma from my own doing. I chose this. I induced this on myself by my lack of understanding. I thought, it's a couple hundred milligrams more than I did the first time. They're mild
Mm.
compounds, not a big deal. That is not how this works. Mild or not, it is still an anabolic steroid. It still has major consequences and side effects. So you really need to start low and stay low. Like myself personally, from my first log and what you guys have seen, I hyper respond, I feel like, because I didn't use very much and I gained a lot
Yeah.
in those 12 weeks. And personally, I think with this cycle, I might actually kick it down to 12 weeks, because I was listening to the podcast you guys did recently. And, I am, health is wealth to me. I believe in what you guys believe in with staying healthy and doing this for long term. I might
Yeah.
actually cut the 16-week cycle into 12 weeks, just based on the high concentration, the amount of side effects, and what I'm dealing with. I think I'm going to dial the test down to 200 milligrams, keep the Primo and EQ at the 400 and 300, be about 900 milligrams total, and see how I adjust. And if I'm still doing bad, I'll adjust down. There's nothing wrong with titrating down. If you have problems, lower the dose or stop completely. There's nothing wrong with that.
Are you not on TRT, right?
I am on TRT.
Okay.
I've been on TRT the last couple of years, but that's because my levels were really low. Like after COVID and not training for a few years, I just started to feel really bad and really poor,
Okay.
and I had low levels of test. But
Okay. So you don't have
um,
to worry about recovery is what I'm trying to say.
no.
Yeah.
No, no, nope, I don't
Okay.
have to worry about that, but still, with that, even in hindsight, like, for me, like, I'm so worried about my health, and I keep that in the front of my mind, whether I'm on cycle or off cycle, and I do bloods multiple times a year because of that reason. But from my personal experience, high concentrations aren't worth it. 16 weeks probably isn't worth it. 12 weeks max, lower my doses or titrate down, or completely stop if you run into too many issues. Because if you can't train, you can't gain. If you can't eat, you can't gain.
Yes.
If you're
Yes.
mentally out of the game, you're fucked completely. It's not going to work, and you're just doing yourself a disservice and setting yourself back. And that's my personal opinion on how
I've
I
seen.
feel.
I'll let Mobster touch on, but I've seen some guys over the years, younger guys, using these pro hormones or using oral steroids who just don't grasp what they do, not just they blow out your reproductive system. I think we can all agree with that. Blood work, that's another thing versus 20 years ago to today. Now anybody can go get blood work done. We don't have to listen to these fake gurus who tell us, oh, anabolic steroids are safe, they're natural, go use them. And then you use them for a few cycles, then you go get blood work and your test levels are crashed and you've got no fertility.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
think I've did
that's
bloods like 6 times this year already.
yeah, that's the reality. So we get blood work now. So that's the advantage of today versus the way things used to be. And we can prove and disprove things through blood work. So it's very important. But I've seen younger guys who ended up with jaundice, like yellowing of their eyes and stuff, because they've used these performers or steroids because they thought they were
Right.
safe, but they don't understand the damage that this stuff does to your liver. And it does have long-term consequences when you start damaging your liver and damaging your kidneys at a really young age.
Yeah,
It will
I can
take
see
years
both sides
off
of
your
it.
life. So, you know, like I say, wait as long as you can. Like the longer you wait, the better. The longer you wait, the longer it's going to take you to need TRT. The longer it's going to take you to need kidney dialysis. There's a lot of people now in their
I will be
50s.
honest though, I really don't want to lower that primo dose because that 400 milligram primo dose, man, the first time I ran that at 400, and people don't get strong on primo, but maybe it's just the way my body's wired and how I respond. I got stupid strong on primo. Like 6 to 8 weeks in, I was maxing out every friggin' lift, and I don't even train that way. And I just kept training heavier and heavier because it was addicting. And I'd never had that feeling before until I ran a cycle. And then once, 225, 250, it's going up like a feather. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I've never had this before, but man, that 400 milligram primo dose is magic for me. And it's like, that's the only thing I don't want to lower.
Let me touch on the TRT thing, which is another reason why, and it's just something we're seeing more common now since I've been on the forums, the last 5-6 years, certainly in the last 2 or 3 years, where we're seeing younger and younger guys, including again a post that was replied to this morning, going on or staying on and calling that TRT, or in some cases genuinely requiring TRT, and it's because of mistakes that they made going on too early, because they made mistakes with too high of a dose, and so on and so forth. So there's definitely an element of, give you an example, and Steve talks about our ages, my age, Steve's age, and Noah's age on this podcast for the benefit of the listeners, and neither Steve nor myself are on TRT. We do run more than one cycle as often as not in the year, but I don't bridge in between. I'm not cruising in between, and I'm not on TRT. So when I'm off, I'm off.
I'm 35. You guys aren't on TRT. I'm 35 and I'm already on TRT.
That's what I mean. And that might be an issue in terms of the influence of other things that's had on your body. It might be,
could have been where you
upon.
grew up too. I mean, some parts. If you grew up like in the Midwest, in the Midwest, you've got coal plants, you've got
that's
pollution,
where I'm at.
you've got lead in the water, and out west,
lack of sunlight, all sorts of stuff.
Water tables.
In New Mexico, where they set off the atomic bomb years ago, literally to this day, people still have higher rates of cancer just from that. So you can imagine their testosterone levels if you're in parts of New Mexico.
And that's without getting into the modern society stuff with stress and aggravation and debts and whatever else and that sort of thing. And again, even the social media aspect of putting sort of pressure on us to be a certain particular way and whatever, and all of those things. And then divorce cases and fucking bankruptcy and not being able to pay your mortgage and make payments on the car. All of that stuff is a stress. I don't have any of those issues, so my stress should be lower. I've got money in the bank, so my stress should be lower. I've been doing this stuff a very long time before some of the things that Steve's referred to, just in terms of pollution, even the atomic stuff or whatever else. So I ought to have some of those benefits from then as well. And at the same time, the whole thing of staying off longer, of getting certain progression, of leaving it, in my case, nearly fucking middle-aged till I did it. And then only feel probably, I think with, until more recently, I said for years that most of my cycles were around competitions. I think the first 2 wasn't, and it's only in recent years when it's been for personal targets and whatever else. Changing the subject, and as we're getting up against the clock here now, just to finish, and I'll let Stevie in on this as well before we go into the disclaimer. Look, guys, those of you who are listening, when we talk about the Magic 600, we did a 500 a year or so ago. Go off online and look and see how many of those people you know do podcasts. And I'll throw Larry Wills under the bus again because Larry's a good example. Larry hasn't done 600 fucking videos, done a lot of videos. And some people will put videos out a week, but it is really, really hard. And these are not just the only shows that Steve and I do or that Evolutionary's put out. To get to 600 shows, to get 100, Steve's probably done 1,000 plus over the last 5 or 6 years. We recorded, I think, this week 12 or 15 for that's going to go out over the next few weeks. So it is fucking hard. And we should celebrate the fact that we have made it to 600 fucking shows. That some of the shows in the early days, I think Steve talked about on the 500 show episode, mistakes that were made, shows that have been lost, the guests that they've had on, good guys and bad guys, people that couldn't string 3 words together that were fantastically influential online, and so on and so forth. And other guys, Steve and I laughing off air and talking about fucking cats and stuff. And even we've touched upon it in this show, and I'm going to bring Noah in on this as well. The influence that we're able to have, the entertainment, the education, the way that we're out there in the world, trying our best to put out the right kind of messages, the right kind of information, to be as helpful as we can. And something I touch upon occasionally on the forums with half an eye on the history of the sport, referring to some of our shows as pages from an encyclopedia. We try to, on some of our shows, make them timeless. So, Steve, talk about getting to this point in time where we're talking about 600 fucking shows before we finish for the day.
Yeah, and I think the big credit goes to, first of all, the listeners out there, guys like Noah, and then who listen to our show and who enjoy our show. We keep our show, we keep our show positive. We don't bring in negative stuff into the show. We don't gossip. We don't do any of this nonsense that other people do, but we try to give, everyone good information. And then big thank yous to our producers, our directors out there who, they produce a show, they make the show even possible.
Artwork, Steve, the artwork that some of the guys put together for these videos is amazing.
Yeah, and those guys, they don't get any thank you, and they don't know, nobody knows about these guys too. And these guys are good guys, and they work really hard on our podcast as well. And then and then Mobster, good, credit to you. And then I'll give myself a tap on the back too, because we, Mobster and I, we live on different time zones, and then Noah lives on a different time zone. So we all have to figure out, when to do these podcasts. And I have to get up super early to Mobster. It's
lunchtime. It's lunchtime. Here in the UK, it's 12 o'clock, and it's like 5:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And we've got the clocks are about to change. We have to work through that shit. Yeah.
So I mean, it's how it is. Yeah, and these are hard to do. So yeah, I don't think people realize how hard it is to do these podcasts and get to 600. It's a great accomplishment, and hopefully we'll get to 1,000 one day. We'll have a big party in Vegas when that happens.
But definitely, I'll echo something that Steve just said, and I hadn't thought about it, Steve, and you're quite right. I talk to the listeners on these shows. I talk about how we're trying to encourage positive vibes and giving you the information. But listen, these shows would not be what they are. We wouldn't be doing 600 shows. We wouldn't be looking towards doing 1,000 shows if we didn't get feedback, if we didn't get comments, if people didn't support us, if the guys on the forum didn't come on and say, you're doing kicking ass, guys, it's the best shows out there. If we didn't put out information that's timeless, and I said it just now, where you can come back and listen to a show on a particular subject, and that information is as relevant today as it was when the show was recorded 2 or 3 years ago, because we try to make it like an insert in an encyclopedia. This information, we just yesterday did one where the information in the article was wrong. It was talking about grams, and we said it's micrograms. So we said, listen, this is the information you need to know. This is how it should be. Don't be fucking influenced by people that say otherwise. Don't go on Reddit. Don't listen to the bullshit. But 100%, the feedback we get, the views we get, the thumbs up we get, the comments we get, literally the fact that people are taking time out of their day, whether they're doing cardio, whatever else, to listen to us, putting this stuff out there is appreciated. Trust me. And it's super, super hard. Fingers crossed, thumbs up that we can do this stuff in the future. Noah, you have the last word, and then I'll do the disclaimer. What do you think before we carry on?
Sure. Yeah. First off, congratulations to both of you for all the success and all the
You-
amazing information you put out. Like years before I even knew you guys, when I was just starting out, I was listening to the podcast and gaining vast amounts of knowledge from both of you, and the camaraderie you guys have together, and the way you guys joke around and talk. It makes the podcast awesome and entertaining, and I just love listening to the banter. Also, shout out to the unknown guy who did my artwork for the Topps
Yeah.
baseball for that podcast, because not only did he make me look jacked, that baseball bat was an amazing touch. So I will say thank you to the unknown gentleman who did that artwork, because that was awesome. But
Was it phallic?
it was amazing. I loved it. Like, just he had the swing and everything. I was like, man, I definitely hit a grand slam on that photo. But but as far as everything else goes, like, yeah, like it's I'm very honored and humbled to be back a second time, and I'm very thankful that I get to speak to two people that I respect very highly and I look
Thank
up
you.
to. And you guys have always been there for me to help me to answer questions. And I know me and you, Mobster, we've had plenty of conversations. Same with Steve and I. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just very thankful for the
We're
opportunity. And I'm
thankful
glad
for
you
you,
guys.
buddy. We really
Well,
are.
We
thank
You're
you.
enjoy it,
great.
man. We enjoy
You're a
it. We
great
enjoy it.
guy, really, on the
Yeah, I
forums.
would love to come on anytime
So
you guys would
Yep,
feel
we'll
that I would
definitely do
fit,
it.
and you guys would think that I would be of some value to you or the podcast. I would definitely be
You
open
can
to
hold
doing
our
it.
coats when we're in the stripper bar in Vegas.
Yeah, I'm not much of a stripper guy, but for a small fee, I'll hold your coat for you, buddy.
We're all,
But
we're
yeah,
all
no,
gonna
I
get
just
a
awesome.
we're gonna rent out a big strip club and throw a big Evo bash
Oh
With
God, there's
fake
party.
gonna be a
dinners,
lot of
man.
rolled up dollar bills on that day.
No throwing
Oh,
the bread rolls
jeez.
around.
Yeah, but no, it's awesome. I'm just very very honored to be speaking to both of you guys and having the opportunity, and hopefully one day I make it big enough to where this is going to sound strange, but I'll end on this. I
We're gonna be
actually want to
we're gonna be
work
like, hey, we
expos.
had Noah Wixx on here episode
Yeah,
600.
that'd
Now
be
he's
Yeah,
cool.
Mr.
yeah.
Olympia.
I don't know
Frank
if I'll
Zane
ever
of the
get there,
23rd.
guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if
The
I'll
new
ever
Frank
get there,
Zane.
but it's strange. But I actually want to work for a company at an expo. I've never been to like an LA Fit
All
or
right, I've done that.
a
It's
big
cool.
expo, but I
It's
would
fun.
love to just do expo work. It'd be
Mm.
cool.
I've done it. It's great fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I would like to get there someday. Like there's no guarantees in life, but like as one gentleman in a speech put, time is the one thing that you can't buy or buy back. So if you're
Mm.
going to do something, do it right the first time, and you'll never have to do it again. That is the
Yeah,
best advice I could give
there
anybody.
you go. Listen, thank you, Noah, for coming on. Thank you for the kind comments. And Steve and I love that fact that you've been on this show. We love our listeners. Listen, guys, 600 episodes. Let us know what you think about it in the comments. Come on the forums, post up logs. We're going to try and help everybody the way that we try to help Noah, and have a positive influence and go out there. And fingers crossed, 700 shows, 800 shows, 1,000 shows in that titty bar in Las Vegas. Who the fuck? I'll probably be too fucking old when we get there, but what the hell? We'll try and figure something out, party online, whatever. Listen, as always, your support is appreciated. Please note, we are not just an opinions of ours, it's our viewing based on our experience and views on the topic. Our podcasts are for informational purposes and entertainment only. The freedom of speech and the First Amendment applies.